You know, on my picture, it says Scott Hildebrand. Obviously, I'm not Scott.
No, Sharon, that's because it came from my computer, I guess, from my invite. I just noticed that myself.
Well, good to see you, actually, Scott.
Good to see you, Sherry. I think it's the first time we've seen each other, actually.
Absolutely.
Bill, how you doing today?
All good.
That's great.
Pretty day.
It is a pretty day. I'm out here in Bamberg looking at it, and that's actually nice temperature out, too.
Oh, yeah. I just had the world's biggest trash fire.
Oh, my.
Burn, burn, burn.
In your yard?
Shop, the office.
Okay.
Got an
Burning
old well.
trees?
Got an old well back there. It's an old hand dug well. Use it for a burn pit. Had some stuff come back off a job. The dumpster had already been pulled, so they brought it over here and we burned it.
Sounds like fun.
Felt good.
3 more minutes, guys.
Clock is ticking.
So is this a full day for you guys, Bill? Were you on Zoom?
No, we work at the office.
Well,
work-wise, we hadn't changed anything.
Okay, well, I'm talking about the how many meetings today?
Well, we only have this meeting. I'm only on this one board, so any meetings, business meetings we just have meetings.
I hear you.
Wear a mask to go in the stores. Got visual on Chris.
Already on, so I have to send it to you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right. Just wanted to make sure. I know we're getting to that point, but I am not entirely sure if everybody's here. I've seen 2 of our board members.
No, we don't need them all. This is easy.
Got to have at least 4. Really need 5 because I got to recuse on 2 of them.
You need a quorum?
We need a quorum.
In half a mile, turn right onto State Highway 335, Northeast 220th Avenue.
I do know we will be down Michael Greger, so That leaves 6 options, but we only have 2 right now. So we're just going to have to wait a couple minutes, give everybody a chance to deal with their technology, and hopefully we'll get everybody on here and ready to go shortly.
I don't see Mario Reyes either.
I saw him in just a minute ago.
I did see his name on one of the boxes. We haven't heard from him, obviously, through the audio, but he was identified on one of the video screens or active members in the webinar.
What happens if the DRB board members don't show up?
That doesn't happen very often, but if they don't show up and we do not have a quorum, we can't have a meeting. No decisions would be able to be made. You need to have a minimum number of board members present for the meeting to count. Unfortunately, if we get to that point and we have to call the meeting because people aren't going to be able to make it, what would end up happening is, or what we have done in the past is just schedule the entire agenda for the next regularly scheduled meeting. Sometimes we can work out a way to do an extra meeting, but that being said, hopefully we don't have to worry about that.
Tim, can you hear me okay? This is Chris.
I can now. Yes, Chris. I hear
All
you.
right, good. I didn't have audio
Hey,
before.
Chris.
Hello. So, Tim, sounds like it's just the two. Bill and I are here.
As of right now, yes.
Okay.
If there are any other board members on the meeting that, haven't identified themselves, if you could just speak up for me so we can hopefully get started.
Oh, Tim,
Yes, Bill.
Chad Waldorf for Sticky Fingers. He did not get an
Yep.
invite to the meeting. Any way you can get him an invite so he can tune in? Might be a moot point if we don't have any board members.
Tim, if you shoot me the email real quick, I can get him an invite.
No, Chris Carpus was not going to attend, and neither was Michael. Candy said she would be able to attend.
Working from home.
Yeah, that was Candy. She said she was looking for the email for the link to get in. So we got at least one coming. One more.
Tim, this is a participant. I don't know if they're having the same struggles, but the call-in link was not working correctly either. I was only able to join via my iPhone for this particular meeting. So I don't know if that's causing them some of the same delays. The code that's supplied externally was not working correctly when you punched it in.
Okay, I think we're showing both up under your name, and they actually just talked about, they said, well, Chad didn't get a link.
Just want to take the opportunity to remind everybody to be aware of whether you are muted or not muted.
Yeah, Tim, you have 35 participants right now. I believe the invitation's okay right now, whoever got it, because you do have 35 people present.
Yes,
But if you want to send me the sticky fingers email, I can forward that person an invitation if you prefer, but I don't know if you have enough board members yet or not, so I'm not sure if that's necessary yet.
I still don't have enough board members. Bill, who did you say it was that didn't get the invite?
Chad Waldorf. Chad Waldorf.
Chad.
Hey, I've got it now. I'm on, Bill. Thank you.
Excellent.
How about Candy, Tim? Do we need to call Candy? You need that board member, correct?
Yeah, she called me. She said that she was looking for your email. Hopefully she should
Got
be
it.
getting.
I have it.
Excellent. There's Candy.
I'm here finally. Sorry.
Oh, no problem.
I can never find the link ever. I don't know what happens to it. Okay, but I got it. I'm here. Thank you.
Excellent.
Carolyn.
Yeah, it would be Carolyn we need.
And our civil engineer.
And Hart.
I'm abstaining on, sticky fingers and Farm Road.
Tim, are you calling are you going to call Candy? I mean, not Candy, Carolyn or Hart?
I was just seeing if I have their numbers.
Already. I think we give it till 4:15 and then we have to make a decision.
I can call Carolyn's husband, Jerry. I've got his number. I'll try. I don't have Hart though.
I do. I'm just going to mute myself.
I'm going to try Jerry.
Scott?
Yes, ma'am.
Scott?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you know what number we are on the agenda?
We start old business first. It's going to be, we're the last.
Missing Carolyn.
We are the last.
Yes.
So no matter what, it's going to take at least, 45 minutes before it gets to us.
Probably so.
That's just a regular meeting. DRB meeting. So far, they don't have a quorum, so nothing is happening yet. Yes, I do.
All right. I did speak with Carolyn and Hart. Hart is not at in a location where he's going to be able to participate. But Carolyn, I just caught walking in the door, and she will be getting onto her computer and joining us here in just a couple minutes. So please bear with us another moment or two while we wait for those board members to, or the final board member to get on.
Everybody's in it.
Yes, there's no meeting. DRB meeting is Somerville, and they have old business and then on the new business, you have the last on the agenda.
And you think I am?
Okay, I think so. That's what
Okay, are you on mute?
Huh?
Does he have you muted?
My what?
Does Scott have you muted?
No.
Hi.
Hey, Carolyn.
No.
All right, Tim, I think you got Carolyn on.
All right. I just want to make sure I have everybody I need. So I saw Chris Campo. Just say present.
Present.
Bill Bushane.
Present.
Candy Pratt.
Present.
Excellent. Thank you. And Carolyn Rogerson.
Okay, now I can hear.
That's you, Carolyn.
That's me.
Sounds like
Awesome.
her.
All right. Perfect. All right, Chris, we do have a quorum at this point. It is 4:15, and if you want to go ahead and call the meeting to order.
All right, I'd like to call the meeting to order for the November 19th Town of Somerville Commercial Design Review Board. What I'd like to do first is if someone would make a motion for approval of last month's minutes.
Make a motion to approve.
All right, I think we have a first by Bill and a second by Carolyn. All those in favor say aye or raise your hand. Aye. One thing I thought we should do, a couple of things I thought we should do is, since we're going to have a recusal, I think we need to, I would suggest that we need to, Tim, I don't know if it's a change the agenda necessarily, but we need to, I think, make it known that a couple of items are not going to be heard tonight.
And
Because we
that's
don't
what
have a
I'm
quorum.
trying to verify. I just sent Jesse a member. There's conflicting opinions on if you've established a quorum, does a recusal break the quorum?
Okay.
I was hoping that Jesse would be able to answer. I believe, Bill, you have to recuse on 1200 North Main and what's the other one?
Farm Road.
So items 3 and 4.
So items 3 and 4. Hopefully she gets back to me by the time we get there. But
if not, we'll run to the end or something.
Yeah, maybe we
Yeah.
amend the agenda, push those to the end, and I'll see if I can get her to give me an answer. I doubt that the town attorney will be available to answer that question for me.
Okay. Well, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. And I would like to make a motion that we amend the agenda to put the sign applications first instead of last, because it's a very simple and straightforward sign.
All right. Is there a second for that?
Second.
Okay, that was Carolyn. Thank you. Vote.
Aye.
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 And the other just item of business, since this is a Zoom meeting, I think what we should do is I'll have a roll call vote every time we vote, and I'm going to go. It's in no particular order. It's just the order I wrote it down. But Bill Beauchene, Candy, and then Carolyn. If that works for all of you.
All right.
Okay. All right. So Tim, if you could take us away on the signs, please.
All right. And I hope that the applicant is here. He was a late addition to the lineup, but this is 140 North Main Street. This is the redevelopment of the old Solicitors building there at the corner. Century 21 is a tenant, and they have proposed some signage that is internally illuminated. The UDO does not allow for internally illuminated signs in DMX zoning without the design review board's consent. So this can go either for or against. If you, I can at this point turn it over and see if I think it's Ross from Low Country Signs is available.
Yes, I'm here.
Excellent. Do you have anything to add to that?
I did want to add, the client decided to take the blade sign away, so it would just be the 2 wall signs. Also, I definitely want to point out that they are reverse cut blackout vinyl, so only the logo will illuminate. It won't be a bright sign. And that's all I really have to add.
Is it flat on the wall, did you say?
Yes. Yes.
So
It'll
it's
protrude 4 inches.
recessed, or, I mean, it doesn't stick out at all. It's recessed.
No, it'd be 4 inches. It sticks
It'll be
out 4
4
inches.
inches out from the wall. Okay.
Correct. And that blade sign is still on the table.
So
right.
This sign here is no longer part of the sign package, but
that's correct. The client just decided.
This wall sign, the square, 48-inch square, internally illuminated, it'll project. You said 4 inches. This says 8.5.
I'll have to get revised artwork, but we can do it with a 4-inch cabinet.
All right. Is there, from the board, is there any opposition to this application?
I mean, we don't really like internally lit signs. I mean, I know we've had some, unfortunately, but I don't know. What do the board members think?
I think this is pretty
Discussion on it?
tame and tasteful. All that illuminates is the gold part, the black doesn't illuminate. So I think it's tasteful.
I do as well.
The 4 inches does not come out on the sidewalk. I mean, it's away from the sidewalk. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yeah. I don't have a problem with it. I mean,
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it. I will say I did like the blade sign more for what it's worth.
Yeah.
I liked it how it projected. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Would someone like to make a motion then?
I move that we approve the use of this sign as presented, that it not be any more of an outline from the finished wall of 4 inches. And that it is only illuminated at the gold color. The black does not illuminate.
So just to make sure I got that right, final approval as presented with the 4-inch maximum projection and only the logo illuminated.
But the black cannot have any illumination in it.
Okay.
Right.
I don't know how that's going to happen, but that's what you're saying you can do.
Yep.
Okay.
I'll second.
All right. All those in favor say aye. I'm going to call Bill first. Bill?
Aye.
Candy?
Aye.
Carolyn?
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. So the votes have it. It's approved. Okay, moving on to 113 North Magnolia Street. Tim, if you could kind of update us.
Yes, give me 1 second to get down there. Apologize. I'm on a different computer than what I usually do. Make this. This is the proposed redevelopment of the property located at 113 North Magnolia Street. This is a request for final approval. It is for a 5,660 square foot multi-tenant office building. The project was last at the board on October 15th, where it received preliminary approval. The staff's comments are as follows. Photometric plan has not been submitted, but it's my understanding that they don't have like parking lot lighting. So hopefully that they're not going to have much lighting to be calculated here. And I wanted to highlight that the 65% transparency requirement waiver was approved by the DRB at the last meeting. And then to get into the building, it provides a mixture of exterior finishes, vertical shiplap, brick. Windows are lacking the required detailing at the head and sill, which would be section 4.5.2 D2. Why is this? Okay, well, these are the packet. So this is the existing site. And Chris, do you want to start with the site or the building?
Let's start with the building this time. Well, I guess I would leave it up to the applicant. Whichever one they want to start with is fine.
We can start with the building.
Okay.
Tim, can we start with the floor plan? I think we have some board members that haven't seen the project before, at least one maybe. And is there a way to go full screen so we can see the whole thing all at once?
That's what I'm trying to do.
Thank you, sir. That'll do it. All right, thank you. My name's David Thompson. I'm the architect for the project. We also have Cameron Baker, civil engineer, as well as David Willis, who's the property owner and client, is on if there are questions for him. Just a quick orientation on the project and the floor plan. The building is designed for 3 future tenant spaces with a larger tenant anchoring the corner. So we have the road is running across the top of the page, and then the right side of the page, we can go over the site plan after I do building review. Each one of the tenants has 2 entrances. One that would be a more public, pedestrian-oriented recessed entrance, and then an entrance to the rear of the property that would be secondary from the parking. We can go on to elevations. So this is our 3rd time in front of the board. We did receive support of the project last time. And the bulk of the conversation for leading into this meeting would be for us to develop construction details with a focus on windows, doors, parapet. We've also included detailing for the canopies. And then I think equally as important, there was a lot of emphasis on the materials themselves. So to that end, and hopefully everybody's been able to receive them or see it in person, we delivered to Tim's office brick samples for the 2 colors of brick, as well as the wood siding sample, which with its finish, as well as printed colored renderings so that we could control the color. Who knows how it conveys on the computer screen for each one of our different computers. There's no changes in the floor plan or elevation design. There's only additions of details and update to the elevations that reflect those details. So for anybody not familiar with the building, the larger tenant corner space is primarily a vertical shiplap, gray washed Western red cedar siding, vertically oriented, has a brick water table. All of the trim on that portion of the building is wood, with the exception of the parapet, which has a galvanized flashing cap. That portion of the building also includes sunscreen awnings, which are steel with wood. And then the 2 smaller tenant spaces to the right of the screen as presented is entirely brick veneer construction, so full brick with fairly traditional detailing to that part of the building in terms of the water table and the parapet articulation. We can go ahead forward from here, Tim. Do you have our details included in here as well, or are they maybe out of sequence?
Yeah, the details are up here. So
I'll just touch on them as Tim passes by them. These are details for the canopy. There's 2 separate details. The detail on the left is for where we have the solar screen condition across the street. And then at the rear entrances where we lack the recessed entrance from the parking lot side, those are a solid canopy. From outward appearances, they're very similar in terms of their detailing and material and scale. The difference being one allows sun to pass through and one doesn't. Next. Wall sections, which have been fully coordinated with structural engineering at this point. Plan details, which demonstrate our transitions from brick veneer to where we have the vertical shiplap siding. That was one of the questions Mr. Karpus had last time. Roof plan, floor plan. There should be a whole window section in here, Tim, with window and door details. Lots of them. And the brick details. No?
No, doesn't look like it was included. I may have pulled some of those out. We typically don't get into this level of minutia on cross sections, so I may have just pulled out the ones that you wanted to talk about accidentally.
Okay.
So I apologize on that.
Hopefully no foul, because I think it was Mr. Carpus that was mostly interested. I'm sure others may be. They exist. How about the colored renderings?
I did not get a digital version of it in time to include in the packet. So I know that the board members had access to it. I thought I had. This is killing me.
Yeah. That'll be two of us if we don't have a rendering to look at.
I don't think we didn't get any. I don't recall seeing any renderings in our packet.
I've got a rendering I picked up when I looked at the samples at the office, our office. I've got a very nice color rendering.
Well, maybe
available.
Mr. Beauchesne can sing its praises for you, since he's the only one that's able to look at it.
Yeah, I mean, it was available when we looked at the samples at town hall annex.
Well, I'll do my best to describe it, because I know the colors were part of the conversation last time, because the prior renderings read very gray. So we have selected 2 tones of brick. There we go.
Yeah,
so
I was able to find it in my email.
Awesome. Thank you, Tim. So there's actually one subtle variation from the prior submittal, is we do have a different color for the water table. It's slightly darker, which is the veneer on the left. And then we changed to a slightly lighter version above that water table. They are both much warmer grays than what we presented last time. That was one of the things we heard from the board, was to make sure that it wasn't too cold. I think in some light, these are really going to read brown more than gray. Depends on what time of day you're looking at them. They complement the whitewash or the gray wash on the vertical siding very well. So hopefully this appeases any misgivings anybody had about the idea of gray brick previously. I think it's really warm and natural. Taking up a lot of time. I think probably not much conversation needs to go into in terms of civil, unless Cameron wants to address site lighting or if there's any specific questions by the board. But I think these renderings, as well as the brick detailing and the parapet detailing, were the primary emphasis of the submittal. Happy to answer any questions.
This is Chris. I think there was a comment made at some point about brick detailing or more detailing around the windows.
Yes.
Can you address that?
Chris, the UDO does specifically require all windows to have detailing at the head and at the sill. I think with where the way that these lay out, the windows are right at the water table, and that can count as their sill detail. But typically what we would normally ask for, just a real simple change, do like a soldier course or just something to highlight the header of these windows, especially on this section of it. I think with these sunshades over it, that detailing would be lost along the main tenant space, the larger tenant space at the corner. But these would definitely benefit, these windows would benefit from having that required detailing. That is also something that can be waived by the design review board if you so choose, if the architect, can convince you.
I would waive it because it would just clutter up the clean design that the architect has now. It's clean and uncluttered. It's not the type of building that needs a whole lot of brick detail.
You can come wander with me if you want. Well, I don't know how long I'm going to use. I finally looked at like what's all on there, and I'm like, holy crap! Sam Swales thing is on there. Yeah.
Just, hey, keep in mind, if y'all aren't speaking, to make sure your mute is on. If you're not speaking about the project. All right, my comments are related to the building. I'm not going to dive too deep into it. I think it's the wrong approach. Like to see something that has a sloped roof that is more in keeping with the neighborhood that is around it and its historic roots. So I think it's the wrong approach. We don't need to dive into the details of it, but any other comments on architecture from the board?
I really think that the window treatment around the top would make somewhat of a difference and make it look less industrial looking. So, I mean, we can take a vote, but I just think that, the soldier bricks or something would make it soften it quite a bit. It just looks very industrial to me still. I think that was the issue I had last time, and I'm still, fighting that.
Carolyn, I understand your thoughts on that, but I'm afraid that if we do the brick at the top of the window, it'll interfere with the row of bricks that separates, that's right under and goes around. I think I'll have to go along with Bill that I think it's nice and sleek right now, and that it looks good as it is. So.
All right. Site comments. We last time had talked about the proximity of the driveway to the existing oak tree. Could you all address that?
Yeah, hey, this is Cameron Baker.
Okay.
So the preliminaries or the conceptual stages, we had the 24-foot wide drive. In the preliminary version, we had actually reduced the width of that drive at the tree and removed 2 of the parking spaces that were inside that drip line. But from the preliminary to the final, nothing had changed from that perspective.
Okay. All right. Any other items that the board would like to take up?
We discussed at length last time on-street parking. I don't see any sign of on-street parking.
To address that, Bill, the DMX does not require specifically on-site parking, but they have
on street. You mean?
Either. They don't need to provide any parking on the site.
Well, I'm talking about on the street.
I understand.
Providing it on the site.
I understand. And one thing that they pointed out at the last meeting is the depth here. I think Mr. Baker had said that they had discussed the possibility of doing angled parking on Magnolia Street, and DOT told them that they did not have enough room to be able to back out safely without backing directly into the travel lane, and that DOT would not allow that to be formally changed over to parking. Now,
I think there's plenty of room there, Tim.
I don't disagree with you. I mean, you can see from the pictures that there's already informal.
Is there 100-foot right of way there?
Yes.
It don't get no wider than that. That's pretty wide. Travel lanes, 12 foot and 12 foot, 24 feet.
I understand, but I mean, Cameron, if
we also did it right down the street.
If you had that comment, or if you could clarify that, that'd be greatly appreciated.
Yeah, Tim, I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head. Practically speaking, yes, there's enough room probably to turn a car in there 90 degrees and back out onto the travel lane. But from DOT's perspective, we don't meet the minimum requirements to back out. You're actually supposed to back out before you get into the travel lane. So that's the reasoning to not having incorporated onto this plan.
Well, I think at the end of the day, they're not showing it, but everyone's going to park there that wants to park there.
That's correct.
Yeah, my recollection was the conversation was informal parking happens and there's nothing we're doing to prevent it from continuing to happen, and we would just all let it.
Just not designate it, but it would happen possibly.
Yes.
I think that's what we talked about last time.
Let it ride. Okay. All right. Any other comments from the board? Can we call for a vote then, please?
Let's call for a vote.
Well, I guess call for a vote. We need a motion is what I should have said. Is there a motion?
Make a motion for approval as presented.
All right. Is there a second?
Yes, I'll second.
All right. Any further discussion? All right. Hearing none, I'm going to call for the vote. Bill?
Aye.
Candy?
Aye.
Carolyn?
Aye.
All right. I'm opposed. All right. 3-1. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
All righty. Up next is Freddy's Frozen Custard.
All right. Give me a second to get to those plans. All right. The second item on the agenda, under old business, is an application for final approval for a proposed 3,010 square foot restaurant with a drive-through. This was last at the Design Review Board on October 15th, where it received preliminary approval. I really did not have much in the way of staff comments. I believe at the last meeting, the site was, kind of nailed down and everyone kind of was good with the overall layout. The outstanding issues were mostly concerning the building, and that is what we have to discuss here today is the final design of the exterior, unless there is something specific that the board would like to discuss regarding the site plan or landscape plan.
All right. If the applicant could, I think, focus on the building maybe and tell us, I know there was a lot of discussion regarding the architecture. Just tell us how you responded to those, what changes were made, and what your design intent is.
This is Roger Baker. I'm the architect of this building for Winter Architects. We addressed the previous comments from the 10-15 meeting by changing out all of our awnings to be metal awnings. We took out the large brick columns underneath the front awning, reduced the size of the brick column and its height to match the height of the water table. And then it would just be a wood post and a wood truss system underneath that metal awning. We separated out the metal awnings rather than one continuous metal awning. We have individual metal awnings over each window or each door window combination. And then we emphasize the corner of the building where our signage is by making that just modular brick all the way to a stucco cornice. The colors are standard red brick from your region of the country and horizontal fiber cement siding painted in off-white, a light beige, and then a red aluminum coping cap. The gooseneck lights were approved previously as to be black, and we made no change there.
Now, Mr. Baker, the color rendering is not accurate as it relates to the building elevations, is it? Because on the black and white elevations, unless I'm just looking at it wrong,
no, that's a an intermediate rendering. You don't have the latest one.
Okay.
The latest one, those awnings are broken up, so they're individual over, and they're metal awnings. They're not one continuous awning over all the windows.
Okay, thank you. But that is still the brick color you're using, right?
Yes, sir.
That reddish? Okay. And you're still going with the striped canopies?
Yes, sir.
Right. And are those columns on the porch columns, are those accurate in the rendering?
Yes, they are.
Okay.
And the colors are all accurate.
Okay. One comment I heard was that the porch usually overhangs past the columns rather than being flush with the columns. That's a pretty typical detail. Most of the porches that I can think of around here have that.
Yeah, the little bird's mouth rafter tails.
Well, not necessarily rafter tails, but it's just if you look at a section view, Tim, say on A4, and the column to the left there, typically, the roof extends past the column, is not flush with the column.
Yeah, that's a simple change we could make.
Okay. And you need to put a gutter on it, or you're gonna have a lot of splash back on your porch.
Yeah, we get pretty severe rainstorms in this area.
So if you extend your top cord out 18 inches and put a gutter on it, then you'll be pretty comfortable on the porch even in the rain.
Chris, I'm having trouble understanding where the columns will be now that it's no longer, well, is that side, that side is all one long one. That's what it is. Okay, I got it.
Yeah.
Multiple columns there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where it looks like it's outdoor dining or something in that area. And then the other,
gotcha.
Yeah, the others are just simple awnings going over the openings.
And all of them are going to be a red and white alternating?
I would recommend they be all red.
Well, they need to be all something, but the red and white alternating is just too busy.
I'd make them all red, Carolyn. With white columns, white gutter, and white trusses.
And what's the typical, when we did that study on houses and porches several years ago, it came to light that Somerville is pretty uniquely has black roofs. So black actually would be an acceptable awning color to me as well. And I'm not, but I understand where you're coming from, Bill, on the red. I think I'd prefer black. But definitely one color definitely has to have the overhang for me.
I think the black would be very nice. It would really complement the building.
Well, would a different red color be acceptable rather than the black?
What color is the Freddy Steakhouse?
The logo?
The logo. What color? Oh, it's red.
It is red.
I don't have a problem with the red awnings, but solid red awnings.
Looking at precedents, I just can't think of another red awning building in town.
I've got one here at the office.
Dadgummit. No wonder you like it.
Looks like a barn. Panels were free.
The red awnings with the overhang and the gutter, like you were talking about, Bill, I think that's, in my opinion, I don't have a problem with that.
Well, it makes sense with the trim and the Freddy's color and that sort of thing.
Yeah, there's no other black on it, so I don't have a problem with black either, but I just think with it being, that's kind of their logo, the solid red would be fine too.
And as long as it's solid red, you're right, Carolyn, I think that'd be all right.
All right. Does the applicant have anything they'd like to add?
No, sir.
All righty. Anything for the board that we need to talk about on the site or anything else before we go for a motion? If not, could someone please make a motion? They're asking for final approval.
I would make a motion that we approve it with the awnings being a uniform red color and the addition of gutters and the overhang, at least an 18-inch overhang on the front porch.
And this is final approval?
Yeah.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? One thing that I'm thinking is, do you all feel, I guess if you would say it if you didn't, but is that red brick an appropriate color brick? And how red is it? It's just a...
I agree, Chris. I think it needs to be a richer color. It's kind of, I don't know. I mean, and the applicant said that's a very accurate color of the brick, but it's not a very pretty brick.
Well, it's as accurate as we could make it on a computer.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I think you'd like it in person a lot better.
Well,
Yeah.
do we have a piece of the brick itself?
There's a photograph of it on the materials board that we included with our plans.
Okay, that might help.
Right there.
Oh, so it does have a little relief in it then.
Yes. Yes,
I
it's
think
not
that's what I'm
uniform.
looking for, is some relief in it.
That's pretty. I think that's a decent looking red color. I think it's much more
Right.
toned down than what you see in the.
Right, I think you're right. Okay.
Okay, yeah.
I like that.
All right. Well, we have a motion on the table for approval with conditions. Bill, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye. Candy?
Aye.
Carolyn?
Aye.
I am in favor as well. 4-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All righty. Next item up is 1200 North Main Street.
Chris, may I interrupt a minute?
Yes, sir.
I think Tim got an email that clarifies what you do when you have somebody recused and you lose a quorum.
I confirms that yes, even though we had a quorum to be able to move forward with the meeting, with Bill recusing on the next two items, that quorum is broken.
Well, according to the email,
No, the email said it was all right.
email says you still have a quorum. The quorum is not broken, and that's for,
It was in the chat is where I saw it.
yeah, that's for handling quorums correctly for the Municipal Association of South Carolina. In order to continue on, you'd lose my vote, but I would still have to stay present for the meeting.
Bill, our attorney said it. You did lose your quorum.
Our attorney's wrong.
Our attorney checked all his notes from previous questions.
Yeah, but if you're following the Municipal Association of South Carolina website.
Yeah, if you abstain, you don't lose your quorum, but if you recuse, then you do lose your quorum.
What's the difference?
Abstaining doesn't mean you just means you don't vote.
Well, why don't we call it?
Recusing means you have an actual conflict of interest and you have to.
Well, if I don't vote, then I don't have a conflict of interest, and I don't comment. I can't comment. I can't vote.
I'm just telling you what GW told me. I double checked with him. He said that if you have to recuse yourself, we lose our quorum for those two items.
Well, maybe he ought to read this.
Well, what if, in order just to kind of keep this moving forward, Jesse or Tim, what if we proceed with hearing the applicants and the three of us can vote on it? And if legal counsel says that it's not allowed, they can come back next month. And it just nulls the, it kind of invalidates what we said today, or any vote we took today. Or would you rather not do that?
I mean, I'd rather not. I specifically called GW and asked him, and he confirmed with me that once someone recuses, then you lose the quorum for those items.
I would concur.
Okay.
Y'all are welcome to discuss it. You just can't vote on it.
Can we look at it just for discussion and conceptual to give them some direction?
Yes, you just can't vote on it.
Well, let's do that. Does that work for Jesse and Tim?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do that then.
See if I can get this back to sharing. All right, so the next item on the agenda is the Sticky Fingers at 1200 North Main Street. The applicant is requesting final approval for proposed facade improvements and minor site changes to the former Sticky Fingers restaurant. This did receive conceptual review back in September. And at that meeting, we did discuss the details on the building, mostly about the detailing of it. There was also discussion concerning the dumpster enclosure, but see if I can get this to fit better. These are the existing elevations, and then we have the proposed. I did see David Shook earlier, and I can turn that over to him if you'd like to discuss those issues that were addressed.
Sure, this is David. There was a lot of comments about the site, so can we go back up to the beginning?
Sure.
Okay. With me today, I've got Chad Waldorf, the owner, and David Thompson, or I'm sorry, David Tomlin, the landscape architect. And as mentioned last time, the We didn't provide any landscape plans. We were requested that we come in and bring the site plan closer to the city's requirements. So I'm going to turn it over to David to kind of talk about the site improvements.
Good evening, and thanks for your time tonight. A couple of comments that the board made were we needed the additional 88 parking spaces for the front building area. And you can see kind of near the main entrance, we located one handicap parking space there, and then down near the future courtyard, we provided another one there as well. One is a standard ADA space, and the other one's a van accessible space. Both those have access to the sidewalk without going out into the travel lane. So as well, one of the comments was to add bike parking. So on this site, we've got an existing 3-loop stainless steel. It's a very nice bike rack. So what we did was use the same model and located it. We have a large area back near our dumpster screening area. So place that back there where you can double load these bicycle rack and get over to the future courtyard or the sidewalk. As well, we added several landscape islands to get our tree spacing within the 1 tree per 60 feet. And we kind of matched the willow oaks that are already out on site. So kind of making that a harmonious space with ground cover underneath those. The dumpster enclosure as well. I think we just passed the screening details that are hardy plank with columns on the end. And then as you can see, the overall landscaping with foundation planting around the building. Those are addressing the specific board comments, but I can certainly answer any other questions.
David, this is David Shook. There was one other comment that was made, and that was about a wall between the dumpster and the outdoor seating. At this point, the outdoor dining will be part of the tenant's work in the future, the design and construction. So we don't have control over what they're doing, but we can certainly give that advice to them.
All right, Mr. Shook, could you go ahead and move on to the building?
Sure. You could go down to the existing elevations, please. Okay. All right. It wasn't quite clear last time at the meeting, but this building, in addition to having 2 different characters, has a lot of different materials. It has stucco, it has painted brick, and it has wood siding in 2 different configurations. One is a standard 6-inch lap, and another one is a beaded lap that's about 8 inches. So there's a lot of materials in addition to all these different forms and shapes. Could you go on to the new elevations? All right. Based on the board's comments, we removed a lot of the horizontal lines that we had on the elevations. Those were kind of reminiscent of the existing horizontal banding on the Berkeley Circle side, but the comment was made about it being too horizontal looking, so we took those off. In addition to that, we made the larger tenant element at the front a darker color to break up the same color scheme that's on the existing building all the way around, and also to help cut down on that horizontal feeling. The board requested that we turn the corner of the Main Street facade down with the same element down the Berkeley Circle side, and we've done that, and we made that element the darker tone as well. Comment was made about making the top a different color, but when we looked at that, it seemed to strengthen that horizontal look that the board asked us to kind of move away from. The board requested that we remove the awning that was not over windows, and we've done that. We've also changed the color of the awnings to the black as requested. At this point, the new stucco is limited to the darker elements. The rest of the new walls are to be hardy lap siding. And we're open to any questions, comments.
Are there any questions from the board? Starting with Bill? Well, no, starting with Candy.
Unmute yourself, Candy.
That would be helpful. Thank you. I don't have any questions. I like what they've done with the building. I think it was a hard task on this building, but I think it looks real good. They've broken up that long Berkeley circle elevation. I think it looks pretty good.
Caroline, do you have any comments?
I'm with Candy. I like it. Looks good. And you've addressed all of our comments from the previous meeting very well. And I think it looks good.
My comments are that I think you've done the best with what you had to work with, and you're headed in the right direction. So we can't take a vote. I guess if I were voting, I'd probably vote in favor of it. But anyway, like I said, we can't vote. Do you have any other questions or anything? Does the applicant have any other questions or want to make any other comments?
No, I mean, if we can't vote, but I appreciate your support of the project. It was a challenge.
Yeah, it is. It is, definitely.
This is Chad Waldorf, the building owner, and I would say we appreciate your support as well. We've been in a bit of a holding pattern for a couple months. Just a sort of procedural question. Can we go ahead and apply for a demolition permit to start doing some interior demolition while we're waiting on a quorum, I guess, at next month's meeting?
I would say yes, as long as all of the proposed demolition is confined to the interior of the building. Absolutely. Okay. We have no problem with you moving forward on that aspect of it. I would just ask that any application for demolition work be confined to the interior. Unfortunately, obviously with the situation being what it was, we're not able to do anything with the exterior yet.
Okay. Understood. Thank you.
Thank you.
All righty. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Sorry, we'll have to see you again in a month or so. But the next item on the agenda is 114. Well, before I finish that, Jesse and Tim, did we conclude that in the manner that is acceptable and discussion but no vote?
I think so. Jesse, correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, the vote regardless isn't going to matter. So we would consider it like conceptual review. There's just no vote that can be legally taken to have any action on.
All right.
That's correct. Yeah.
Thank you. All right. The next item up would be 114 Farm Road.
This is another one we saw actually back in September for conceptual review. The applicant is requesting preliminary and final for 7,500 square foot multi-tenant office building to the property zone GB. This staff comments include that the building wall material is all metal panels. This material can be approved by the DRB. The facade facing Farm Road has no windows, which does not meet the design guidelines section cited there. And this requirement can be waived at the discretion of the board, and the site appears to be in compliance with the requirements. Mr. Brislin, Gene Brislin, did forward a finalized site plan that actually showed all of the materials meeting the spacing, etc., that was accidentally left out of the official original submittal. I can pull that up if you want to look at it, but since it's not really going to carry any.
Yeah.
So I can turn this over to Chris if you'd like to make any comments, or Gene if you're on and would like to address the board. It's open.
Go ahead, Gene.
Yeah, so a couple changes from very small changes, but a couple things. One, the drawing that let me talk. First of all, the drawing that I sent to Tim, I kind of left out of the package, was an existing condition drawing. Sorry. One of the questions from the TRC was, in terms of buffers, did we meet the 25% requirement in terms of if the acreage, if the building additional square footage pushed us beyond 25% of the square footage of the parcel, that we would have to bring up all the buffers. And that drawing, the calculation shows that we're not, we're a couple thousand feet below that. We have 1.87 acres, which I think is 20,000 some square feet, and we have about 18,000 square feet of buildings on the site. So in terms of landscaping in the TRC, we have a CPW, and again, Farm Road now is a private road, right? So it's not a county road or municipal road. I still am not sure who owns that road, but I don't know who's doing maintenance on it. But anyways, so there's a CPW right away along there, and we had put a bunch of landscaping in there, and CPW kind of expressed some concern. So I scaled back the landscaping along that Farm Road side, still providing some cover and the buffering and the landscaping by the building, but it's not as extensive, and it's out of the CPW right, except for some bushes. So that's one of the changes from the preliminary. The building does have two different materials. It has a border water table that's siding, that's a vertical. Tim, I sent a color rendering in there. Do you? Maybe the last page. That's the landscape plan. Keep going. That's the lighting. It's probably at the end of the architecturals. Keep going. Oh, no, apparently it's not there. Okay. Well, anyways, go up a little bit on the architecturals. Yeah, so there's that. There's two different materials on the walls, on the front wall at least. There is the metal panels, but then there is that board and batten siding at the bottom. So anyways, there are no windows on that private road side. Again, this is kind of a bay industrial to match the building across the parking lot, or what I'm terming the road. So other than that, I can't think of any other comments.
Carolyn, do you have any comments? Carolyn, I think you're muted.
This is the first time this has come up to us.
We've seen it once before.
Yeah, we've been here before.
Okay.
I don't believe you were here when
Maybe I missed
for that last meeting.
I don't have any comments right off. It's just very, with all the lines and every location, like different size lines, it just looked a little strange on the front.
Tim, did you have any, I can't remember if did you have existing photos as part of this packet?
I didn't resubmit them. They were submitted with the first submittal.
Carolyn, this is basically a duplication, or there's some existing buildings out there that are very similar to this.
Right.
So it's kind of building more of the same, but
Okay.
these have some enhancements with the awnings and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So while standing alone, it may not look appropriate, but in context of all the other buildings that are out there, these are a slight improvement, and it's kind of in keeping with what's already there.
Okay. That sounds good.
Candy, did you have anything you'd like to add? You're muted.
Sorry about that. I think they've done a good job kind of improving the look a little bit and also keeping it in context with the other buildings that are there. I wouldn't have any objection to any of it, including I don't really see any need for the windows on the Farm Road end where it's a very small portion. It's a private road, not a lot of traffic, and I think it'll offer better use of the building without windows there.
Alrighty. And my comments would be, if I'm understanding it correctly, from Bacon's Bridge Road, it's actually very visible. It's more visible than I thought. I'm not necessarily opposed to the buildings. It's just I think the landscaping should screen a little bit better than it probably is. And particularly just from as you're driving by Bacon's Bridge Road, I just would like you to kind of take a look at that corridor and see what you can do.
Tim, will you go up to the colored landscaping plan?
Yeah, that would be helpful.
Okay, well, right there. So the bottom building on the right, all the gray foliage, which probably is even not, is existing. So when they built that bottom right-hand corner, they did a lot of landscaping, yeah, right in that area that is not very mature yet, but will mature. And there's 2 power poles there, so that's where the power comes in. And we could probably add another large tree there, but one only. But anyways, if that's acceptable, we could probably add a tree over on that side.
I think you just need to, again, you have a better understanding of the site, obviously, but just, I don't want to say, yes, that tree accomplishes everything. I don't want to say, no, it doesn't. I need you to just look at it from that corridor and then just do the best you can.
Yeah. Yeah, Mr. Jung's property is all in there. I mean, where those little boxes are to the right of the green are actually buildings. There's another building there where the cursor is. It's actually, when you ride by there, unless you happen to be way over at the red light where the old daycare is, you might be able to see through there. But I will study it and see if we can do some more there.
Yeah, and the intention is buffering and screening. So, all righty. Any other? All right, hearing none, I think that's all we can do for you right now.
So procedurally, Tim and Jesse, when what I'm hearing is we have to wait until the December meeting now?
That would be the normal process. I don't know, considering the time of year, if we would be able to fit a special meeting sometime in between now and the regularly scheduled December meeting without it being only like a week ahead of it. So we might be able to do something, but I am not going to promise that we can.
Yeah, I'm just trying to educate my client as to where he
Oh,
stands.
absolutely. No, Gene, I understand. I'm looking at the calendar going, I don't know if we would be able to get this or the other project up for a special meeting, just with scheduling restrictions being, it's going to be very difficult.
Okay, well, just let me know something, I guess, in the minutes or formally so that I can forward it to my client.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
All right. That was it for that. I just asked the board, do we need to take a break for 5 minutes or do you want to continue on? We good? All right.
I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good.
Good to go?
Good.
All right. All right. Next item is Somerville Commons. And Tim, if you could make introductions, that's helpful.
Of course. This is a request for preliminary approval for a proposed 270 unit apartment complex at 9th North and Berlin G. Myers Parkway. This was before the board back in August for conceptual review. They have since worked with the adjacent developer to work out some of the site details. Just to give that, at this point, they still have not finalized the landscape plan. The details within that landscape plan showing the 60-foot spacing, site lighting plan hasn't been submitted yet. I don't believe, but I could be wrong. I may have missed if they have applied for tree protection review for tree removal. And then this goes into the engineering, and this is rehashing what was said before. Dedication of Farm Springs Road and East 9th North Street will be required. A new detail is the applicant is requesting a decrease to the depth of the required buffer for the detention parcel, the offsite detention parcel. The buffer is required to be 30 feet in depth. The applicant is requesting 5 feet. This can be approved by the board, and the building elevations to go into the building included a mix of materials, horizontal, board and batten, and white railings, black asphalt shingles. So my computer will move it forward. This is the site. I believe the annexation is moving forward to be finalized. And I did see the applicant on here earlier. If they would like to address the board, I can turn it over to them at this time.
Hi, Tim. It's Erica Chase. I'm on. Good evening. My name is Erica Chase. I am the project manager with Stantec on this project. Thank you for your time tonight. We were, as Tim mentioned, last year in August for the conceptual review, and we did have the annexation finalized in August as well for the main parcel. We will be bringing the offsite detention parcel later this year or early next year to Planning Commission and then to Council as well for annexation of it. So since we were last here, and Tim, if you can go to the site plan, please. One more. Right there, thanks. You can see when we were here last, we had not coordinated with the adjacent property developer of Sawmill Center. Our driveways were not previously lining up, and since then we've lined driveways up and kind of reconfigured our plan. One of the items that we feel has been strengthened is right now the main driveway will terminate into the amenity center building, as you can see on the plan now. One of the challenges that was discussed in our conceptual review meeting was regarding the grading of the site. If you remember, there's about a 15-foot topography change from Berlin G. Myers that falls down to Farm Springs. And so that was obviously one of our, biggest challenges thus far. And in this packet, you'll see as we get to it, there's a preliminary grading plan. We've been working with the architect, RJTR, to step a lot of the buildings, which I think will really help with the site plan and the grading and kind of the feel of the site. Tim, if you can go to the next slide, please. This is the off-site pond parcel. And when we get to the preliminary landscape plan, I'll talk about what Tim was speaking about, the buffer, and can kind of talk through that. If you can keep on going, Tim. This is our conceptual landscape and amenity plan. Ian Duncan with Stantec is on also to answer any questions on the landscape side. And if you can go to the next slide, Tim. Here's our plant palette, the next two. And then the third one should be the buffer exhibit. Should be in there. Did it make it in, Tim?
It did. I think it's all the way at the end.
Okay, sorry.
No, it's as I was pulling documents in, sometimes I'm not sure how how it's going to pull in, truthfully.
No problem. I'll talk through the buffer, and then we can, I'll turn it over to RJTR, the architect, to talk through some building stuff.
Yeah, let's
keep on going. It'll be an illustrative plan. There we go, this one. Thank you. So what Tim was mentioning is we have not annexed this parcel into the town yet. It's currently in Berkeley County. It's obviously a unique shaped parcel. It is bordered on the plan left by the existing Farmington Village apartments, and on the plan right by I think it's 100-foot SCANA transmission, or now Dominion transmission right of way. And then on the plan south, the Sawmill Canal. And so really the parcel has always been envisioned to be an offsite detention to capture the runoff for this parcel. And then kind of plan northwest, there's about a 3-acre out parcel still remaining that would also go to this pond. And with the UDO and talking with Jesse and with Tim, they felt the best path would be to rezone this parcel general business, but it would then require a reduction approval of buffer from you, the board, to 5 feet. Obviously, this isn't going to be developed with any kind of buildings. It's just going to be simply a pond. So I feel like the buffer would be appropriate with 5 foot. We're showing, I think, an evergreen hedge with some canopy trees spaced, I think, 35 or 40 feet. So that's kind of the background and the history there. So with that, I'll turn it over to RJTR, the architecture team on the project.
Hi, this is Dan Ritolante with RJTR. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. So if you don't mind going to the elevations, or maybe the site plan first. There's a nice landscape site plan in there, I do believe. There you go. So just to let everyone know, the buildings on the site, residential, multifamily. We've got an array of different sizes of buildings with different densities. We have approximately, I would say, 5 different types of buildings. The larger buildings, all residential, are garden style, 3 or 4 story in height. And the smaller buildings on the site are carriage house style residences over garages, private garages for those residences, as well as just garages. And then there's a clubhouse situated at the center, at the entrance, as Erica was mentioning just previously. And you'll see that there's 2 buildings that form a courtyard that creates that that central amenity space off of the clubhouse. And then we'll go into the elevations, and I'll give you a little bit about the character, materiality of the buildings. And the next slide. I think it's an elevation next. Do you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. I don't know if Tim.
Okay. I thought maybe you lost me.
No, I think Tim's screen may have frozen.
Okay, we might have lost Tim. Okay. Well, as he's trying to get back on and Tim does hear me, he can get the elevations up. Like I mentioned, the buildings are all 3 and 4 story in height. And so with those 3 and 4 story buildings, we have the opportunity and strategically use those to help us kind of blend down that slope that Erica mentioned, that 15-foot cross slope from Berlin Myers down to Farm. And so along Berlin, we've got our 3-story buildings, and the 4-story occur at the center of the site that we were just looking at, the center of the courtyard buildings. As the slope goes down, those buildings kind of blend and balance with the cross section of the site. And along 9th, the buildings step, as Erica mentioned as well, allowing for that grade drop. And these buildings have breezeways, so the residences access from the exterior through a common breezeway, and allows us to step along 9th. All right, there we go. We got you back, Tim.
It's actually me. He's down.
Okay.
So
all right. Well, thank you.
I was able to find the packet and.
Perfect. So you can kind of see there in that elevation. This is west elevation. So this would be one that steps, and it's slight, but you can see it there as it slopes down 9th, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and the material. Yep, and yeah, they're all about the same, and you can scroll through for the group to see. And the materiality of the building is predominantly fiber cement siding, but arranged in different textures. We have horizontal, really 3 different material and patterns. Horizontal lap siding and a larger 10-inch board at the bottom, creating our base. Moving on to a 8-inch, and maybe you can go back up to the longer buildings.
Yeah,
I
sure.
think they show better. There you go. And the kind of the central section, the medium gray would be or 8-inch or 6-inch lap rather, and above that in the white is a board and batten. The color is the grays, medium light, and a shade of white. And we've got a black composite roof. And we do have a couple different color palettes such that we're mixing and matching. And now if you want to go down, we can kind of talk about that as we go to the clubhouse. A couple slides down.
Oh,
there you go. Yep, you got it. Perfect. And so this is your arrival as you enter into the site. Your clubhouse would be situated there. 1.5 to 2-story space, housing all of the amenities for residents and their guests. Predominantly lighter color. We want this to stand out. Mixture of material and texture, but predominantly the coloration you're seeing here. And the next slide, I'll just talk about some of the other smaller buildings on site. Carriage house style building, which again is residential above and parking below, using a similar kit of parts here, just 2 materials, not as many to break up the scale of the smaller structure. And with that, I think that's kind of the general overview of the architecture. We presented very much the same last meeting. I think we've just advanced our drawings for you as we push the design forward.
Hey, this is Chris. Can you walk us through which elevations are visible from Berlin Myers Parkway? Like,
Yes.
What's the sense along that street?
Okay, so this one, this is on 9th, so we're gonna go to the, you wanna see the north, right?
They're looking at for this.
This is Berlin G and East 9th.
Yeah.
I don't know
So
where that.
we don't have every elevation. I think that was Chris, right?
Yes, sir.
We don't have every elevation, but the buildings are very much in keeping with the same texture articulation. So you could probably stay there. That's probably very comparable to what you're going to see, just a shorter building. It's not as long on Berlin, and we can go to the plan in a second to help you get a sense for the length of those buildings.
And then also to the, may have the building name wrong, but the carriage units or the garages or whatever it is that's next to this building.
Yep, that's right there. So
Okay.
along Berlin, you're going to have as you're standing on the street looking at the site, you're gonna from right to left, you're gonna see one building on the corner, right? We want to really give some corner presence and presence along Berlin in general. You're gonna have this carriage house in between the two buildings on Berlin. And now maybe you can go back up to the site plan, and so everyone can kind of get a sense of how that's situated. And it should be up in the package. Any site plan that shows the buildings will do.
Yeah, there we go.
There you go. Perfect. So you'll see we've got two smaller buildings between two larger buildings. So it's breaking up the scale along Berlin. We didn't want to have one large building up there, but we also wanted to activate it. And the other thing, I don't know if we mentioned this time, is we do have we do have our path there between that and the street. And maybe Erica, you can talk about that a little bit if need be, but we are pulling back our buildings to allow for some common space out there.
There'll be a 20-foot greenway with a 10-foot paved path, and I believe Sawmill Center, the adjacent development, will also be doing something similar. It'll be a multi-use path along Berlin G. Myers.
What is the finished floor elevations of those buildings in relation to the sidewalk along Berlin Myers?
Lower. So if you, Jesse, sorry, if you can go past the architecture plans to our preliminary grading plan. So the finished floor steps. So if we're looking at building 5, which is the top right building along Berlin G. Myers, there is an existing 74-foot contour there. Our finished floor is a 73 and steps down to a 72 on that building. The carriage buildings are both 71 and a half with an existing elevation of 73. And then the building at the corner of East 9th North and Berlin G. Myers is a 71-foot elevation at the corner. Existing is around a 71 too. It's basically the same elevation as the sidewalk, maybe a foot lower in some instances.
On that, yeah, on the building closest to Main Street, one all to the right, upper right is at a 72, sidewalks at a 74. So these buildings are sitting down 1.5 to 2 feet lower than the sidewalk.
Yeah, Jesse, if you go one more, there'll be the zoomed in grading plan there with finished floors labeled.
Yeah, it looks like a couple feet, Chris.
And then that's to the sidewalk. What's the top of curb?
Top of curb at Berlin G. Myers, I think, is around a 74, 75 as well, if I'm correct.
Yeah, it looks like.
I think it looks like it's cut off.
Yeah, it's cut off. But
at the intersection of East 9th North and Berlin G. Myers, it's about 72.9 back of curb elevation. And on the far side that we were just looking at, it appears to be about a 75.5 back of curb elevation.
On the far right.
Correct.
Tim should be back on in a second. He got disconnected, but he's coming back right now.
So that building on the right is 3 foot lower effectively than back of curb or sidewalk.
For 20 to 30 feet. Is that right, Erica? 30 feet maybe?
Correct. Yeah.
I just wonder from the street view if it's going to look like it's sitting in a bit of a hole.
I don't think so. I think it's got a good setback to allow for you to have some depth and not feel that way.
Agreed. Yeah, you're over 30 feet from 30 to 40 feet from back of curb.
Hey, Erica, it's Bonnie Miley. I have a question about the multi-use pass. I see that it is completely on the property. It's not in the right of way. So are y'all planning on keeping that private?
I believe in the UDO, it specifies the means to which we have to either put it in an easement. I think there's a list in the UDO.
Yeah, Bonnie, it's going to be a part of their required like open space park space. So they'll have to put it in an easement to preserve it in perpetuity, basically.
Okay, great. And so that will serve as the public connection?
Correct. Mm-hmm.
Yes, okay.
Yeah.
All right, great. Thank you.
Sure.
And can you talk through your hardship to get the reduction in the buffer from 30 feet to 5 feet? And do you have any aerials or anything that show the proximity to the existing apartments that are there?
I don't. I believe their pond also backs up to where we're showing the pond, if I remember correctly. We have the illustrative plan showing it, but I mean, the hardship from my perspective is the shape of the property. It has not been annexed into the town yet. The shape of the property, the property that it backs up to being an existing apartment complex, the transmission easement, and then the canal below. And we're not really, I mean, the intent of a buffer is to buffer against uses that are more intense than the adjacent properties. Well, this isn't going to be used for anything other than a detention pond. There was a zoning category that I found that would not require the 30-foot buffer, but it would be considered spot zoning and talking with Jesse. So the thought process was to zone it GB, even though it's not going to be really a GB use. It's a utility use, so to speak, if that makes sense.
Sure. Do you know if there's an existing, I'm just trying to, without an aerial context of that line, I'm just trying to get a sense for how close the apartments are, the existing apartments. Is there a need for a fence or any kind of barrier to keep them from?
I believe the apartments have already I'm pretty sure there's a pond right here for the apartments, and there's one portion where there's a building somewhat close to it. Let me see if I can pull up that aerial for you. Hold on just a second.
Okay, I looks like I finally got back in. Can anybody hear me?
Well, welcome back, Tim.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yes, 1 second. Sweetheart?
So it looks like, Chris, I have the aerial pulled up in front of me now, that there's a good bit of distance from the back of the apartment buildings to this pond parcel. And it looks like, I think there may be a dog run back there in that area. But the plan is to have a dense evergreen hedge along that area.
I think I know earlier you mentioned, you may have misspoken, it was trees 30 to 40 feet on center, which that's really not a complete hedge. So I just would like you to consider that as we move forward, that I think that needs to be.
It was a hedge plus the trees.
Oh, I gotcha. Okay. Yeah, just, all right. Well, we're good then.
And I'm a civil engineer, so I could absolutely misspeak. But yeah, we have it labeled as a hedge plus the canopy trees.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, that's where I was headed. So.
Okay.
All right. Appreciate that.
Sure.
Can y'all see the aerial now or no?
No.
Cannot.
No.
No, I'd have to change the way I share it. Okay. But if you want me to, I can switch what I'm sharing.
She sufficiently answered my concern.
Okay, cool.
Thank you. And then I know you've thought about this, but I want to ask you about it. Can you describe the ADA accessibility for this site, because there's so much grade change?
I'll be happy to. So all sidewalks shown on the site plan are 5% grade or less. The way we accomplished that was two things. One was stepping the buildings internally, so that helped a tremendous amount. And two, there will be a retaining wall running through the amenity courtyard that you zoom into, that area is labeled. That shape will obviously develop, as we get further into design, but the concept will remain the same. That there will be a kind of a porch or roof deck attached to the amenity building that will overlook the amenity area. And then there will be some sort of retaining wall, and it may be tier, we haven't really gotten into that detailed design yet, but running through the courtyard to kind of help with that grade change again. But all sidewalks shown on the site are compliant.
And so that those two buildings, one is a 3-story to the north, and then the one to the south is a 4-story on the screen current.
Yeah. Okay. And then I think my last, I have two more comments regarding site is you could talk about the parking count just for a moment, because the requirement is 1, which of course is not enough for apartment developers typically, but seems like you're at, well, what like 1.6 or something like that.
Yeah, we have.
Go ahead.
439 on site. It's 415 surface spaces and then 24 garage spaces for 266 units. We did lose 4 units in the redesign between the conceptual and the preliminary with having to shift the driveway.
And so you feel like you need all of those parking spaces?
Honestly, the Children's Client is also on the call would like more. I mean, they would prefer closer to a 1.8 to 1.9 ratio as ideal for apartment developers.
Okay, but you feel like you'll be able to accommodate your needs on your site?
Yeah, we have some on Farm Springs as well.
Yeah.
I think we're going to lose 4 of those possibly based on the TIA comments. So we do have 11 or so on Farm Springs. That was not included in that 439 spaces that I just mentioned. There's a table, yep, correct, there that outlines it all on the site plan.
Alrighty, and I think the only other site comment I have, and I made it last time, was if I'm reading it correctly, is there you have a fence that surrounds this entire property, a metal fence of some kind, including going down Berlin Myers Parkway. And I would see, I don't, just speak plainly, I don't really like the fence. I'd rather see maybe a fence between buildings or something like that along Berlin Myers. But you're building a nice apartment complex, and then it's kind of visually, I think, going to be cut off. And I'd rather, like I said, just see at least along Berlin Myers, if not also on 9th, have the fence go from building to building rather than be between the buildings and the sidewalk. If you could address that.
Okay, that is the intent, and I thought our plan, I'm trying to put my hand on the site plan right now, showed that. It may just be hard to read. So it looks like the carriage units, and then that, building 5, because of the geometry of it, we did show it in front of the building 5, but we can absolutely study trying to tighten that up in between buildings.
Yeah,
there it's just shown.
It looks like this is the only one it's shown in front of.
Correct. Okay.
Okay. Well, yeah, it's hard for me to see that. And there's no interconnectivity on the sidewalk from Berlin Myers into the complex. Do you have to walk all the way down 9th?
We've been discussing that amidst the team, as you know. Do we think that would be an advantage, just to have gates or the ability, if the fence is not there, to access the greenway, that multi-use path? We really haven't come to a firm decision on it yet. It's kind of been a discussion item that I know will evolve, as we get further into design.
Okay. Well, I would encourage you to study that hard, because, we all study and think about interconnectivity and walkable neighborhoods and all that, and then we're not providing any interconnectivity.
No, I agree.
I understand the need to have it gated or all that. That's not an issue, but we just need to connect to the exterior.
Sure. And I think too, as we discussed, as Sawmill Center develops commercially, that'll be a good opportunity there too for interconnectivity.
Right. Exactly. So, all right. Well, I think that was great explanations. I'll ask the board if Bill, do you have any comments related to the site?
Not really. I think it's working pretty well right now.
Okay. Candy, anything for the site? Well, really anything site or architecture, but. Candy, you're muted.
Okay. When I had a question regarding the buildings, when they were showing us the carriage buildings that front on Berlin Myers, okay? I could not tell, and it was probably very simple to everybody else, but I couldn't tell which side of that building faced Berlin Myers. There's one side is a very, very
the bottom elevation faces Berlin, and the top elevation faces inward with the garages. Correct.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I have not heard this particular thing be presented before. I must have missed it one time, but I personally think that side that faces the Berlin Myers is not a very attractive side. Now, I don't think you should have the garages on that side either. But I just think that building needs a little work.
Candy, I would agree with that. I think it looks like the back of a building.
Yeah, it just is not a good looking building. So
yeah, not for
Isn't that interspersed with some of the other buildings that are more busy or busier, because this is definitely.
Well, I mean, if there are others that look that way, it depends on what they look into, but that is on the Berlin-Myers, and I think it's not an attractive
Well,
elevation.
they could do something more like they've done on the front elevation with the garage door. Or they could do something to add a couple windows, maybe
Something, some
some
gables or something.
gables, dormers, more like the front.
Mm-hmm.
That would help it.
The more articulation sounds like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it's hard to, I'm looking at the floor plan too. It is hard for me at least to get an understanding of if that kind of porch element in the center actually projects out. It looks like it recesses in.
It recesses in, it looks like.
Well, there's a recessed balconies, yeah, but there is a gable structure that's outward that breaks the roof
Yeah,
line.
there is a gable there. You know, I'm looking at the interior floor plan and you've got a kitchen sink there, it looks like. Maybe if you had some windows up there. I mean, something other than that little, is that the side that faces or?
No,
Yeah,
come on, that's
right
the
here.
side.
See your kitchen
Yeah,
sink?
right there. There's a range
Right
there.
there.
Yep, yep. That's all cabinetry in the current unit.
Not a real good place
But the
for
roof
windows.
doesn't project.
Oh, it's all, I got you. It is all cabinetry. Yeah.
The roof doesn't really, the porch element doesn't really project past the front facade of that building. Just looking at the roof overhang line.
It will be developed to have a slight articulation, 6 inches or a few inches.
You have done something with the roof. I can see it now.
Yeah, I couldn't see it before either.
I don't think that's a real problem, Candy, because I think they'll be okay.
Okay.
It's a smaller building, so breaking up the
very
scales.
small.
Yeah, it's a lot smaller than the others, and someone made that comment, which I think was a pretty good one. You got to look at kind of the whole elevation, and you got larger buildings and a smaller building.
I think what would be helpful.
I like that better than having all the big buildings,
Oh yeah, I like having the mix. It's quite
I
good.
like the mix.
I think what would be helpful moving forward is if you articulate that building a little bit more, make it not look like a back, but you also show the entire elevation of Berlin-Myers Parkway, building, small building in one kind of diagram, one exhibit that we can see, so we can really get a sense of how
that would be great.
How that's going to look, along with an accurate planting plan that shows where the buildings are going to be. Is it in the void? Is it, just to prove kind of that the planting responded to the building. I'm sure it will, but we just have to see it.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, sorry, Andy, one other thing I saw is it looked like on the clubhouse that there was a fireplace or something. And it
was that brick or was it stone?
Yeah, it looked like it was stone.
Hope it's not stone.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That really needs to be brick.
You're right.
Or not stone. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, something besides stone. Stones, we just want to see local materials used in an innovative way. So I don't think any of us would be receptive to stone. Carolyn, or Candy, did you have any further comments?
No, thank you though.
I like the brick on the fireplace as well, no stone.
Okay. Well, kind of glossed over you on architecture. Did you have any comments on architecture or anything else? Bill?
Oh, I'm good. Well, the comments y'all made are good though.
Okay. All right. Does the applicant have anything else they would like to add?
No, I think that's it on my end. Dan, how about you?
I think we're good here too.
Okay, so you're asking for preliminary approval, which I think you're at the preliminary level. So I would think, just kind of speaking for the board, we're design intent wise on the right track. Want to start seeing materials, further refine the buildings, start to show not only building materials, but paving materials and any of those special special details you have. It's probably in there, but I've seen a lot of stuff tonight. So make sure the dumpster details and all that kind of stuff are in there. So I think that's it for us. Would someone like to make a motion?
Sorry, Chris, could I interrupt one thing? Could you
Sure.
also include in the motion the reduction of the buffer? I don't know if that's how it's formally done, but I want to, assuming that the board is okay with that, but I do want to make sure that we get that item specifically addressed, if that's okay.
Okay. Someone like to make a motion?
I make a motion, that, comments noted, and that the buffer is fine with me. So let's say the 5-foot buffer would be fine if they can get a zoning ordinance, a variance.
I second the motion.
All right. Call for the vote. Bill?
Aye.
Candy?
Aye.
Carolyn?
Aye.
And I'm in favor as well for preliminary approval with conditions noted. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you all very much. Have a good night.
All righty. You too.
You too.
All righty.
Thank you.
Thank you.
105 Midland Parkway.
Thanks, y'all.
Thank you, Jesse, for taking over while I took a little break there. The next item on the agenda under old business is a request for preliminary and final approval of a proposed 6,300 square foot freestanding optometry office. This was last before the board for conceptual review back in September. Staff comments are the following. The photometric plan has not yet been submitted. 37 parking spaces are shown, which is actually below the 200% maximum. I highlighted that because previously they were one over, so they have met the staff comments. The dumpster enclosure did not have a full detail, and it should be constructed of materials to match the building. The building is mostly brick with cement board siding accents. The ground floor facade does not meet the 65% transparency requirement, and this can be approved by the board to move forward. It just needs to be formalized at this point. I believe John Powell's on. I think he's the one who's handling this project.
That's correct. Thank you very much. I also have Mike Ray with HB Engineering on the line. If we have any specific site and civil related matters, I believe I may call on him to answer the specifics. And then Carly Allman and Maggie Stackley are also on the line. They're with a construction company representing the client. Thank you, Tim. Appreciate the introduction. Just to explain the project briefly, this is on Midland Parkway, sort of to the side of the Publix. If you don't remember the project from several months ago, this is replacing the car wash that is currently on a double lot. And the building located sort of central to this image is going in the place of where that car wash is located. Right of the building is a vacant lot that is being turned into some parking and detention. A couple of things that came up in the last review, and for conversation's sake, we did discuss the entrance drive and making sure that we had proper turning clearances and everything. And so the drive entry has been softened, giving a slight curve to it. And then we have confirmed that fire trucks and waste trucks can get in and out. Also related to traffic flow, we were looking and approaching Publix on gaining access to their drive entry. We have not been successful yet. in discussing that matter with the staff, because we're setting up the site so that it can still tie in the future if we gain that access. We didn't see a reason to hold up the project at this point. If we can gain that access, we're glad to tie it in. If not, which is what Publix has told us so far, they're reticent to allow that entry, then the site plan stands as is shown here. To address a couple of the comments, the dumpster enclosure will be designed to match the building. We'll have hardy board and batten style perimeter with a brick base. So it will look and feel much like the building in that current location at the top right corner of the drive and parking area. Other matters, site related, we have looked at the tree configuration, which was asked early on in the process in terms of what trees we're removing, and forthcoming to staff will be the photometric plan that's been requested. Certainly glad to provide that, and also an adjustment to the landscaping plan to account for several of the trees that we simply can't avoid in the design configuration. So we'll be planting a few larger trees with the final landscape plan. Appreciate y'all allowing staff to confirm that that is the case and approve it with that contingency. Trying to look through the other items on the site. I don't believe there were other site concerns other than I think it was raised the question of whether the ADA parking would be better moved to the side. There's a little number 4 where it was suggested it could go instead of in the back. And having measured that, we do have those handicap parking spaces as shown as close to the main entrance doors as we could get them, given the ramp up to the entrance doors. So having looked at that, I believe they are in the correct spot to be as close as possible. Tim or Jesse, were there any other items that we needed to cover from a site standpoint that would be helpful to discuss?
I don't believe that there are any remaining issues off the top of my head. Okay, so photometrics and the dumpster enclosure, we're certainly glad to provide all of that. And again, the updated landscaping plan to show that. If you'd like to move on to the building design, building design really has not changed much. We discussed this, and it may be easiest to look at the renderings. I don't know if those are dead last in the process or if we can sort of scroll through them, but just to give you some of the changes that we made really at your guidance and direction, we were anticipating a painted brick and have changed that. You don't see much brick. It's sort of hidden behind all the plant matter that has grown up in the miracle of science and technology, but there's a wainscot that runs all around the perimeter of the building. It's a dark reddish brown brick with a whitish flash to it. The whitish cream flash is intended to reflect the white colors of the building. We have a two-tone white siding material, all be hardy materials with trim banding. There would be a slightly darker white, gray, cream color. Gutters and downspouts are all that same siding color material, but then the other metals involved are either a charcoal gray, a darker gray for the roof, and then a yet darker black tone for the window frames. Those windows are storefront system, impact rated for wind. And then just a few pops of character. Those brackets are custom fabricated and they're stained to be a walnut color, which also ties in with brick color. I believe those samples were all delivered to the office in Somerville. Might have been early this week. So yes. Hopefully you've been able to see that. Let's see. Other comments related to the building design. In the last meeting, we discussed that question about the percentage transparency of the elevations. This being an optometry office, the challenge for them is that they do not want windows. Obviously, your eyes dilated windows are difficult for an optometry office to deal with. And so it was their request that we try to avoid that. In place of that, we've added those Bermuda shutters across the front to simulate what a shutter would look like over a window. In the last version, we actually had a brick element in those recesses, and some of the details weren't working out. The massing
didn't come across quite as well. It was busy. And so what we've done instead is in some of those locations, we're going to have a darker patterned detail in the siding. Again, they're behind the perimeter shutters, so they will still read as openings from a casual driver coming by. And then we focused most of the glass on the ends. So you can see in this elevation, the entrance facing the Midland Parkway Road, windows facing the side, and then obviously in the back, that entrance is really the primary entrance from the parking lot. Those are the windows that will allow the most natural light into the building in more open public, non-clinical areas. Is there anything else design specific? I know you've been listening to people for 2 hours. I applaud you for sticking around, so thank you. But trying to keep this brief, is there anything in particular you'd like me to touch on, knowing that not a whole lot has changed since the last presentation?
Bill, do you have anything?
I think it looks great.
Thank you.
Candy?
I think it's a really good looking building. Particularly like the supports on the wood supports on the canopy over the doorway. Looks really good.
Carolyn?
Agree. It's a good looking building. I like all the elements.
Great. I think John, the building looks great. The rendering looks really good, but the rendering does not match the landscape plan that was submitted.
You are correct. You are correct. If you want to go back to the landscape plan, to ways back, and not to try and pull anything over on you guys, the landscape plan is different. There are 12 elms to be planted, 5 willow oaks, 3 red maples, a number of boxwoods, a lot of Yupon hollies, and then a lot of ligustrum as well. So you're correct. The planting and the renderings do not match. The renderings came first, the plantings came second. And in fact, this planting plan will be modified somewhat to reflect a larger caliber tree in some cases, again, to make sure that we meet the size requirements. All of these plants, my understanding, are within the list of plants that are part of your request for site approval. But you're absolutely right. What is on the renderings probably would not be approved technically, because there are plants that not necessarily are in your area, but are available digitally a little easier. So my apologies for not pointing that out before.
No, that's fine. That's fine. But my impression is the building was very well designed. The planting that I see on the plan was not very well designed, just to be very blunt.
Sure.
And it looks like it was just kind of, the rubber stamp, let's use this symbol as many times as we can and put them in a row or something like that. I don't know, that's a little bit harsh, but I think the planting design needs to be as well articulated as the building has been. And how you get there is up to you, but I think that the planting is very, very lacking, in thought and intent. And there's a tree missing in a parking lot, and that's a little minor thing. I don't think I need to elaborate. I would hope, but it's just the planting needs the same level of detail as the building, and it's not there by any means. So I would encourage you to do that. And I know there's a 12-foot wide SE&G easement along the front. Typically, they will allow understory trees. So if you can work it out, I'd like to see understory trees kind of break out that building facade and have them placed in the appropriate spot, meaning, centered on a window or between windows or whatever, but it really needs to be designed and not just, checking a box, so to speak. Again, sorry for the harshness of that comment, but that's a more pretty frank discussion on that. And the other thing is regarding, I'm not a fan of dead-end parking. I think it poses a safety issue. And I appreciate that you've reached out to Publix. And I think I would encourage you to document that in the file, and maybe even provide documentation to the town, because I think for fire protection, for ambulances, anything like that, that interconnectivity is key, especially if you're trying to get someone out of there in a hurry or service that building in a hurry. So if Publix doesn't want to cooperate, I think you need to document that. That's my little soapbox.
Okay. Well, thank you for the feedback on the landscaping plan. We're certainly glad to work on it and develop that further. And I can already spot areas where we can improve upon it that you haven't mentioned. So we'll certainly spend some time working on that. With regard to Publix, we do have emails back and forth at length. Their concern is their own customers coming and going and not expecting a drive lane halfway through. Glad to provide all of that paperwork to the town just for documentation's sake. I think we've gone through 2 iterations, and in fact, I believe the staff was going to go before them once again on our behalf, but we will certainly make sure we connect if we at all can.
Fair enough. That's perfect. All right. Does any of the board have any other comments? All right. John, if you have any other comments, just in case?
No, we're requesting both preliminary and final approval. And so I would appreciate it if you are comfortable with us working with staff to cover these last few issues. I'd appreciate that vote. If not, we certainly understand as well.
Well, I don't know how anyone else feels, but I would be supportive of final approval with conditions, but others may not, and technically someone else has to make the motion. But would someone like to make a motion?
I feel comfortable with that. I think, well, what I would like to do is make a motion that we give final approval with comments and let the staff handle the comments.
At a staff level?
Yes, at the staff level.
Okay. All right, is there a second? Bill, was that a second? All right. Second. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor, Bill?
I don't think so.
Candy? Candy, are you in favor or opposed?
You're muted. Candy.
Aye for Candy. Carolyn?
Aye.
Okay, and I'm an aye as well. All right, final approval with conditions.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Thank you. Alrighty, bye-bye. Next up is, I'm a little cross-eyed here, but it looks like skate park landing.
Ooh. Yes, skate park landing. This is a request for preliminary approval of a proposed 7-unit townhouse development. This is the first meeting. This is at the corner of East Richland Street and John McKissick Way, directly across the street from the skate park. Based upon the review, the following are staff's comments. Tree Protection Board approval will be required. A photometric plan has not yet been submitted. 14 parking spaces are shown, which is exactly 200% of the maximum allowed. An 8-foot landscape border is required around the end of the parking lot and drive aisle closest to Richland Street, and more detail will be required of the building elevations. So at this point in time, I believe Elliot Locklear is on. I know Sam Swales is the developer. I don't know if he's on here, but I can turn it over to Elliot to comment or address the board.
Okay, thank you very much, Tim. Everybody here okay?
Yes.
Loud and clear.
Okay. First of all, this property, as you can see on this existing plan, you've got some drainage in the back and a sewer line that goes through the back of the site. The front of the site being the bottom of the page on John McKissick Way. This was an area that was many years ago cleared and utilities started to get put in for apartments or something that were here on this lot as well as to the right and running northward toward the back of the elementary school all along Stadium Way. And that project got this far and stopped. So I just wanted to explain some of the existing conditions we're working with here where the sewer is in. There is a water main along the frontage. There's some drainage in the back, so we're working with that as it is. The sites were cleared, and so therefore everything on there is 6 or 8 year old grown up pine just left from abandoning the site, and that's all that is on the site for trees. Okay. So this this particular one for the site plan, we've got a 4-unit building, which is all that is planned to be built currently. If things progress and whatnot, then the 3-unit building to the right side on your screen is a future potential development. So the drive and some of the parking would be built. So the left side parking, that would be the parking that would serve the 4-unit building. If the 3-unit building on the right is built, then the additional parking would be built. Our intention here is to have a pervious surface on all the parking in order to just kind of sheet flow all the site to the rear and tie into that existing drainage. First thing I'd like to state about the layout as it is the driveway location is the only permittable spot allowed by South Carolina Department of Transportation. We attempted multiple times to get our access from Richland Street because our knowledge, information, and belief is that that's a very low volume road and there will be no buses, there will be no kids on bikes, there will be no parents walking their children to the 2 schools that are that McKissick Way is an access to. So we got turned down for that, and we went back to them again and asked again, and DOT turned us down again from having the driveway on Richland Street. The other thing that they required was that the location of the access to John McKissick Way is located exactly where it is shown. It could not move to the left or the right. If you kind of look at the section there of inside John McKissick Way, you've got 2 parallel lines that kind of make an S curve. And that is the transition area between a left turn if you're going from John McKissick Way onto Richland, and to the right is a left turn onto Stadium Way to get to the rear of Somerville Elementary School and stadium parking and that sort of thing. The driveway location is the driveway location, else there ain't no thing to do here on this lot. So with that being said, I believe we meet the planning requirements for green space, open space, we do have the comment of an additional landscape being to be placed at the end of the drive to buffer Richland Street, which we certainly can. We'd like to have put a walkway in there to get to the edge of Richland so that trash cans can be put out on Richland and not be out on McKissick Way. I think we have a landscape plan. So basically just some foundation landscaping, and then the landscaping on the back of the parking, and we've got the landscaping laid out for the possible future building as well. I think we meet the park space requirement. We've got the bench and we got the bicycle parking accounted for. So any questions? As you have done, Chris, to take the site first and then take the building second.
Sure.
Just kind of work through the site first.
Sure, that's fine. I'm a little perplexed as why DOT won't allow you to connect to Richland. And I'm not doubting you, it's just I'm doubting them. You know, because you probably heard what I said earlier about dead end parking, where it's just not a good idea. It's a little bit different because it's residential. But it seems like DOT is being unreasonable. And if there's any help that the town can offer, I don't know if they can or not, but if there's any help that the town can offer to get a connection there, I think it'll be a lot safer for everybody.
Yeah, I completely agree, Chris, and I'm personally opposed to the drive connecting to John McKissick Way. There's just too many children and parents that are going to be coming through there, as well as buses. But their definition or their justification, let me put it that way, was that Richland Street is a connector between US Highway 17 and South Carolina Highway 165.
They've never been on that
fact
street.
that equidistant in either direction is Carolina Avenue with red lights, and to the other side is Gahagan with red lights. It just wasn't reasonable, but we asked twice.
Yeah, okay. Hey, Elliot, it's Bonnie.
Hey, Bonnie.
Hey, so y'all's original plan was to connect to Richland and just have the one access. There would be no access to John McKissick Way? Correct. Okay, and one thing about the driveway on John McKissick Way, which I agree with y'all that, yeah, it's amazing that they, you know, they wouldn't allow the other one, but there's also, I see inlets right there.
Yeah, we've got
That's
one
the low
inlet.
point.
Not really. It's
Okay.
just a continuous flow toward the intersection from right to left on your screen. So we could move the inlet downstream
Okay,
to clear the driveway.
okay. Because yeah, that was just a concern with, you know, that was a sag in the road and, you know, the impact to those inlets.
Yeah, that can be relocated. We've talked about that a little bit. That road section is a asphalt swale, or I guess you'd call it an asphalt gutter.
Yeah, like the valley gutter section.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And I'm even a little, and we are right up against the right of way with our walkway. I'm actually also concerned about the fact that the way we have it laid out, the sidewalk will be up against the pavement. And to my knowledge, that doesn't meet the ADA separation requirement. So I'm not really certain how we can address that either.
Yeah.
That
Can
makes sense about the.
Can you
ADA.
have a separation between it and?
Well, if the sidewalk is moved into the property.
Yeah.
Be on top of the water line.
Okay.
Well, actually, it's on top of the water line where it is, but we think that the water line is actually a little closer to the right-of-way line than where we have it shown. When we did the initial drawing, CPW had not located it yet. It's been updated since then, and it's right at the right-of-way.
Okay. Yeah, I think it would be best to have a separation and it be brought into the site and dedicate a pedestrian easement for the maintenance of it.
Yeah, I heard that discussed with the site off of the Berlin G. So you have a easement agreement that we can put in place here, and it's a.
Yes, and the town would maintain the sidewalk.
Okay. And I don't know, liability, all that stuff's all taken care of with that. Because we would get the crosswalk, further back from the turn-in, as well as have at least a little bit of room between the edge of pavement and the sidewalk.
Yeah.
Yeah, Elliot, we've done that on a couple properties, and the easement should cover you in terms of us maintaining it and liability wise.
Okay.
Does that also apply? Does that also apply going up Richland, East Richland?
No, on Richland, we got it pulled back from the asphalt.
Yeah, they've got more room on Richland.
That'll stay in the right of way, correct?
It'll stay in the right of way and be separated without any problem over there.
Okay. And Elliot, these are called townhomes, but townhomes, I'm not trying to be nitpicky here, I'm really not, but townhomes that I've always seen have a lot line that goes between the units. This is more like condos than it is townhomes, isn't it?
Yeah, I think we really have to have a good conversation with planning with Tim and Jesse on what we're doing land wise, because I'm sorry, I'm just confused by the wording in the new ordinance. I don't speak that language, I guess.
Well, these are just not reading as fee simple townhomes, because the townhome should have the parking it needs on its lot. And this looks like more like a small apartment complex. And I'm not trying to be nitpicky. I'm really not. It's just, that's a different thing, So if it's townhomes, then this plan probably doesn't work because the parking is.
Chris, we did the same thing over on off of Judith Drive. The 12 units that went across, the length of the entire property. That one, same type of situation. The buildings in the property are owned, and essentially it's like an apartment complex where somebody will rent the units and it'll be operated that way. It wouldn't really work as fee simple townhome type, or at least that's not the intent. I mean, you could make it work that way, but I don't believe that's the intent of the owner.
Okay. Then I guess that can be worked out. And then the staff, I think last site comment I have is I think that the driveway in the back would work better if it was parallel with the building instead of at an angle, if possible, because it'd make all the landscaping work out better. Whereas it's going to be a very awkward space right now if it's kept at that angle. So that's just something you could consider as you move forward. Does anyone else on the board have any comments on the site? Bill? Bill, you have any comments?
Everybody's made good sense. I mean, it's John McKissick Way is a very busy place when school's coming and going.
Absolutely.
And Richland never is all that busy.
Yeah, we even offered to them when we made our second case to do traffic counts on both streets. Just to give them numbers to say, you know, not that it mattered whether it was a full school session or not, but the relative order of magnitude difference that they would immediately see, I believe, in the counts on East Richland versus on South Magnolia. Should have been enough to tell them that there's no comparison of the traffic loading.
Yeah, plus, I mean, parents back up in that car rudder line, sometimes probably all the way to that point. So people may not be able to get into their homes. Carolyn, did you have any comments on site?
I agree with all the comments y'all have made. It doesn't make sense either, but no, I don't have any other.
Okay. Elliot, can we move on to architecture?
All right.
And is the architect present?
He is not. I can try to help as the developer. Me and my brothers, Joe and Davey Swales. I'm Sam Swales. We own the property and looking to develop this piece of property. Not a lot of details on this plan, as we originally were not needed to go before the board because it was just a 4-unit building. But because of the property, with it having the site potential of what it was originally intended to be back in the day, the town viewed it as something that it's probably, you know, we want to, of course, use the piece of property to its best use. And so the future potential of that other building was one of the reasons why we're before the board. So we weren't, when we had the architect draw the plans, it was not with such detail to go before the board. So we've actually hired Chris Carpus to give us a color rendering of what it will really truly look like. So he's in the process of working those details out so that we can provide you with a better looking plan that you'll be able to look at. He'll do the color rendering and the details that you're looking for. Just to give you an idea, we're going to do cement plank siding, a silver galvalume roof. It would be a gray siding with white cement plank siding, trim, banding, windows. 2/2 will be the window design of the actual glass. And the actual front porches have been extended out a little farther with shed roofs over each porch. So that's not what you're seeing here in this detail, but that will create a better vision in the front facing the McKissick Way side, of course, the front of the building. Is there anything particular that you have any questions? Not sure what else I should mention.
I think we get an F on this drawing, so let's don't even bother with wasting time on it. Let's wait till your architect gets something together. Because this ain't gonna fly.
I agree with Bill.
And I do want to point out that we did have a concerned citizen send in a message regarding these elevations and the details on them. So I think we're all glad to hear that you have, contracted with an architect to work out the extra details. So thank you, Sam.
Candy, did you have anything you'd like to add?
I know that the drawings are not what his finished product, what he wants it to look like, but I was curious if there would only be one entrance in them or if there would be a back entrance also, just from a perspective of livability. So up to them.
Yes, ma'am. There's a front porch on the front with a sidewalk that goes out to the front of McKissick Way. But as you notice in the back, there's an actual back porch off the bedroom. There's a laundry room with a
gotcha.
floor fan. And so that will go out the back rear where the parking is for the property.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah, it looked a little fishy on the elevation because
I'm sorry, I should have looked a little further.
No, you're good.
Much better.
The top of the building doesn't show doors because they're at 90 degrees for the laundry.
Right.
Good question. I'm afraid I was wondering the same thing, Candy.
And these are one-story units?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I think of a townhouse as being, stairs in it to go upstairs to the bedrooms, but okay.
Carolyn, one story is getting more popular. People like that one story.
I totally agree with you. It's just that when he said townhouse, it just I immediately thought it was going to be a two-story unit. And I think there's more of a call for one-story units for sure. We have so many retirement people here too. So
It seems more like a two duplexes put together than it is a townhome. And I would echo what the rest of the board members said. Applaud you for, I think, punting where you are on these buildings. And apologize for being harsh again on that. It's just,
No, it's okay. I saw that coming. I knew that coming in, knowing that we didn't know where we were going with this. And now, going before a board, obviously you need more details. So that's going to get worked out and represent hopefully next month if that works out and everything. Now that we know that what we need to do.
I think. Sure, and I think it needs to. I think this corner is actually going to could be very iconic. Right now, this kind of looks like, and I hope I don't offend anybody, but it kind of looks like George's apartments on Magnolia Street, and it needs to look more like the apartments that you see across from the tennis courts in Azalea Park. Crawl space, looks like it belongs in Somerville. High quality material. I mean, these could be condos or whatever that are very, very desirable. And right now, they are not. I mean, they don't look good at all. But anyway, if there are no other comments, we need to.
Hey, Chris.
Yes, ma'am.
Sorry, it's Bonnie again. I just have one more question about the site and that driveway onto East Richland. Hopefully, maybe we'll get a driveway to Omer. Does it meet ARM's manual requirements? Is the only reason why they didn't want it is because of how the Richland is classified in their system, but like spacing wise from the intersection with John McKissick Way, will it meet ARM's manual?
Yes, almost.
Okay.
When we had it laid out that way, the parking was up against the units and the drive was along the rear, which got us the separation from the intersection. The radius overlapped the adjacent property, and Sam had located the adjacent property out of state and was going to approach that neighbor to see if they would give us a letter to allow the radius to overlap the property line.
Mm-hmm.
But that was so it met, other than the radius, It met the separation from the intersection,
Okay.
but it just didn't, we didn't get that far because they said, nope, can't have it here.
Wow. And was that the district office?
Yes, district
Or
office.
district?
And
Okay.
specifically, when you turn it in, it goes to the district office, but the response says it came back from the traffic division.
Okay.
So it wasn't just the district engineer who reviews permits that made the determination. They sent it to traffic.
Was it all St. George or did it go to Charleston?
No, that's Charleston. The district office off of Montague, that area.
Okay, well, possibly the town can help. I don't know how much pull out, I'll have, but yeah, I'll work with you and working with DOT.
Well, that would be great because I don't want it here. Sam didn't want it here to start with.
Yeah. Okay.
And one of the, I don't know, we're working on another project where one of the comments was connectivity to the adjacent property. That was just a commercial requirement, but we were just going to have it on the rear of the property with a buffer planted along the property line and put the parking up against the back of the building where, as like Chris was saying about the parking at your unit, so to speak.
Right.
So that's all we can do.
Yeah. All right. Okay, that's it. That's all I got, at least.
All right. Well, it sounds like it's they're asking for preliminary approval, and I don't know if there's a whole lot to approve, to be honest. But we need to have a motion, please.
Make a motion that we do not grant temporary or preliminary approval, but the comments, it's too far. It's just not progressed far enough. There are too many things up in the air with Richland Street and the drawings for the building. So there's just not enough there to approve, even on a preliminary basis. The concept of putting this thing.
Do you want to deny them or could they just withdraw it?
I don't think it makes a lot of difference because, we'll entertain the development when the information is available.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not like a denial is going to delay them anything further than if they withdrew. I don't think it really matters.
Okay.
All right. There's a motion for a denial. Is there a second?
Are you going to have discussion between the two? Because we've done what we have.
Yes, we will.
Let's assume.
Elliot, we'll discuss it.
Okay, good.
Is
I'll
there a
second
second?
it.
Okay. All right. So we have a second. Any further discussion, Elliot?
Yes, if we are where we are on the site because of what previous review, both somewhat with the town, we think we've satisfied the town's comments from earlier, and then DOT's denial of being able to connect to Richland. So if there's if DOT holds their ground, I think that's what's got to be decided on tonight.
Are you on it?
I'm going to be on right after this.
You want to be today?
No.
Does that make sense?
Elliot, you don't have as far to go on your civil thing as the building design does.
Well, I understand the building. That'll take another time, but
if DOT, we're not going to deny you use of this land. And if DOT will not let you have access off Richland, I think we would still approve the project. The reservations, but the building's got to be a whole lot better. Very prominent location.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Is kind of what we're almost what we're denying, pretty much. You can I think you're gonna be able to see this building from the Berlin Myers even.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, you know, I'm with Chris on this. We need a really attractive Somerville type building to, you know, bring these into a little more upscale product. You know, it's going to cost a little more, but you will make that money back because you can sell them for a little bit more.
Yeah, worth more too.
Yes.
Well, I'm gonna suggest withdrawal then, because we're really not, we're gonna start over. Maybe the footprint is the same, maybe it changes a little bit. So if the town can get DOT on board, then the site changes again. So I think it's better to have a withdrawal rather than a denial myself.
All right, Bill, would you like to withdraw your motion?
I'll withdraw the motion.
Okay, Tim and Jesse, are we good procedurally with how that went?
Think so.
Yeah, I think that's
okay.
fine. So y'all basically just gave them a conceptual review, pretty much.
Yes.
Sounds good. All righty, that's all for Skate Park Landing then. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much.
All righty, up next is our last item is 212 West 4th North Street.
Okay. Jessie has indicated that she needs to leave, so she's going to stop sharing. And
I just stopped, so you should be able to now.
Okay, so give me a moment here. I need to see that now. I need to share.
Tim, while you're doing that, let me prep the applicant a little bit. If you would think about, tell us your design intent, meaning how does it fit into Somerville? What did you pick up on in Somerville? How does it fit in with the context of the neighborhood? That sort of thing. But as you've probably heard on some of these other applicants, it's like it needs to look like it belongs in Somerville, and particularly the area of town that it's in. I'll just kind of leave you with that to work into your presentation.
All right.
I think that's you.
All right. Go ahead, Tim.
This is a request for preliminary approval for a proposed two-story, 11,200 square foot commercial building located at 212 West 4th North Street, which is the corner of North Pine Street and West 4th North. Currently, it's a vacant residence, or it looks kind of vacant, but I don't know if anybody's occupying it right now. And this is the first meeting that we will be talking about this particular project at this location. The tree protection board approval will be required. I think that this has already been discussed with the large oak tree, but 8 parking spaces are shown. This is DMX zoned, so none are specifically required on site. The sidewalk on Pine Street should be extended to the end of the lot. Palmettos are not canopy trees and do not count toward the required plantings. The landscape plan is not showing the required 60-foot radius from the center of the canopy to show that all parking spaces are within the 60 feet of a canopy tree. It's specifically stated within this section of the ordinance that they need to show it on the plan. And then to switch over to the building, exterior building materials include stucco and fiber cement siding. Window detailing includes sill and crown detailing, just to highlight that they're meeting some of those design guidelines. They have provided some site photos that I'm scrolling through currently. I can turn it over to the applicant at this point if they would like to address anything specifically with the board.
I guess I'll start. Go ahead,
Go
Sharon.
ahead. Is it possible that I take over for the applicant? My name is Sherry Nestor. I'm with the Vintage Design, and we are the project coordinator for this project. And I'm representing today the professionals, excluding Scott Hildebrand, who is actually present. I think that at the beginning, let me thank you for hanging in there for this long and looking at this project, and have Scott start talking about the site and presenting the site to you. And after that, I will present the building. Is that okay?
Yes.
All right.
Okay.
Good
Scott?
evening. Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
Okay. As you saw through the pictures, you know, the site is abandoned and it's also very overgrown. You know, it's an eyesore to that corner. And I think, you know, everybody's seen it. We have gone through the tree protection board once. We wanted the removal of the grand oak. However, we realized at that point that that wasn't going to happen. So we backed up on that and we accepted that within the design. And so we've designed around that oak tree, and it's actually inspiration for the lot. This is at the corner of 212. It's West 4th North Street. I can't remember all that, and Pine Street. The building that we have shown is 5,600 square feet. We're showing 8 parking spaces interior plus the exterior parking and angled. We've submitted this through DOT, and I've got you know, information back and comments back from Wade over at District 6. Wanted the angled parking. On-street parking would be okay. Discussed where the driveway was going to be. That's set in stone. There are reasons for that. The 4th Street entrance or exit would not meet arms in any sense of the matter because of the Piggly Wiggly parking lot and also the intersection. Then on the back side of it, we had to meet or be adjacent to the other driveway on the Pine Street side. So we've provided the driveway through that area there. The building, going back to the building, will be a 2-story building. We had your arborist out on site, and I met with Jesse and the arborist in discussions with the tree. Basically, the live oak can take up to about 20% impact to its roots. So we're within that. We're also saving trees. This lot's really overgrown. There's approximately 15 large story trees on the lot, and some of them are suffering. And we'll bring that out more when we apply for the tree application, tree removal application. We are keeping some large story trees. As you'll see in the lower left-hand side of the picture, there's a couple oaks back there. Yes, that's right. And a couple trees that we're keeping back there. If we move on, and we are featuring a patio area so that we meet the at least 75% build out on the facing street and the right of way. The building is pushed up against the right of way on both corners so that we can work with the live oak and keep that alive. And then again, we're improving the DOT right of way and the parking per their comments. If you can, Tim, if you can page down. Okay, I think here is a good view of this. You'll see all the trees that are on this lot, and you know there's a big grouping of them in the middle of the lot itself. So again, we have to remove some. I mean, it's overgrown by your standards. These trees, these large story trees, need to be about 40 foot apart. Also, we did not show in the landscaping plan, which we'll see later, the 60-foot radius, but we by far meet that. Between the live oak, the oaks in the lower corner that Tim had showed me before, yes, down, over that. Okay, so anyway, and we're going to have some plantings out front for screening the parking. Again, this is plan view with the grading. We've already had this graded out. We'll have to have a detention pond to retain some of the water to meet both the town's standards and DOT standards. We're putting a drainage system down there, which is actually needed. There's one catch basin that is in the lower right-hand corner that serves that area, but does not serve anything. It's high. It's up high. The road itself coming down both Pine Street and 4th Street, they're collecting water and basically running through the valley that's created by the parking and the travel lane. So something is actually really needed down that intersection. So we're helping that out and improving that. Tim, if you can go ahead and page through again. This is the landscaping plan that we have at this point. Is this the landscaping plan, Tim? I can't see the.
Yes, that L1.
L2. So the main feature on this lot is that live oaks, 38-inch live oaks, beautiful oak, keeping that. We're keeping some of the oaks along the perimeter. There's also a chestnut tree back there, I believe we're keeping. Out front in the DOT right-of-way, we've placed palmetto trees, and we've got to work with DOT on that because that is the right-of-way. They have a 100-foot right-of-way out there, so we need to get approval from them. And I think Sherry can talk more about the screening for the parking area. We've met the screening requirements. There's a locust in there, which is large story, and that is on the Pine Street side between the driveway and the building itself. We've provided more pedestrian flow to the building with the sidewalks. There's a current or existing sidewalk on the 4th Street side. And then on the Pine Street side, we're going to extend that parking area all the way to the other side of the property line as indicated in your comments. And again, going through your comments, the parking lot is well covered by the 60-foot radius from these trees, from both the existing trees and the planted locust tree. That pretty well covers our area.
I did realize that, but it's not being shown, and we just want to enforce the ordinance. As they're coming through, we want to make sure that the landscape plans that are coming through the board are showing the same thing all the time, regardless of it. Yes, it meets it, but it needs to show it.
That's right. The small details always bite us, right?
Mm-hmm.
so that's one I missed, and I have to owe up to that. I try not to miss, but it happens.
Appreciate that.
And we'll get that on the plans. And I think if you page down more, are there any questions on the site itself, the drive, the layout, the site plan?
Yeah. Hey, Scott. I have a question about the parallel parking or not parallel parking, but the street parking, angled parking on 4th Street. And those 2 parking spaces that are close to the Piggly Wiggly driveway, it just looks kind of awkward. Thinking can move that, it just looks shorter, or
they look awkward, but they meet the standards. And so because it's angled into that area, and that's where the sidewalk is now existing. Can't move the sidewalk.
Excuse me, also Scott, DOT asked for them to be like that, to be angled.
Right, but she's speaking about the 2 parking spaces that are to the those 2 parking spaces there. They meet. They just look odd because of the angle of the sidewalk. And the sidewalk has to remain there because there's a drop inlet and a power pole that is right where the cursor is right now. So they do meet standards, but we will review that to make sure of that. And as you know, DOT will rigorously go through this.
Yes. Okay. And then my other comment was about the sidewalk on Pine Street, or because there's not one there currently, correct?
That's correct.
It's just a new one. And so it'll just need to be extended through the frontage of the lot.
Mm-hmm.
Right. No problem there. We'll take care of that.
All right. And yep, that's all I have.
Thank you, Bunny.
All right. Thanks.
Any other questions?
Was the town arborist and staff, and this is really a question for Tim, was the town arborist and staff supportive of the tree encroachment?
My understanding is yes. I believe Bill has taken a look at this and was generally supportive. As Scott had indicated, at the beginning when he started presenting, they had originally proposed the removal of the oak, but upon discussion with town staff, etc., they did change course. They did kind of modify their plans. They have pushed that building basically as far forward as they can to be able to give that tree more space. So after review, it's my understanding that Bill is comfortable with this layout as much as he can be. So,
Tim, I can speak a little bit more on that. Chris, I met Bill out there on the site, as I said, with Jesse, and those live oaks in the root system can take a lot of impact. Now, he said 20%, and we're at 20% or just under 20% impact to the root system, which is that ring that you see around the tree is actually to scale to show the drip lines, so to show where the roots are. And I'm working on some other projects with the town as well, and again, learned that these live oaks can take a good bit of impact to the root. So again, we did go through the arborist, the town arborist, and we met what he had asked us to do on site.
What you're also not seeing, though, is the amount of construction activity that would be around the tree. To build this building, contractors are going to be parking under the oak, that sort of thing. So I would just say I have my reservations about the encroachment in the tree, but I will kind of hold more comments until I see the building. I'm sure you heard earlier that I think dead-end parking is just generally a bad idea. And that if you drive into this parking lot, all the spaces are taken, and then you have to back out. You're backing out and you're backing around a curve that's a switchback curve effectively. So I think it's just generally not a good idea. Maybe it doesn't need to be paved. I don't know, but I'm just not.
Well, Chris, that brings up a question of can it connect to the Piggly Wiggly Drive? Or no?
We went that route. We tried to get DOT to approve an entrance onto 4th Street. That was not going to be approved, and there is no way through the Piggly Wiggly. We stuck a fork in that. There's a lot of history to that site. That site is owned by the same family, and there's something going on between them. And we tried to get involved with that, and we couldn't. All I can say, Chris, is this is a small site. It's a half-acre site. We're trying to improve it and make it look better. I understand your concerns. But this is kind of the best you can do scenario with the size of the site, half-acre site. And we're preserving a tree.
May I make a comment?
We're preserving a tree that's taking up 20% drip line wise of that lot, 20%.
Well, I think that, a lot of the things you thought were negatives, I think are positive. It's a great wooded site. It's there's not a whole lot of wooded sites in Somerville, downtown Somerville. So I'm not a fan of taking out the other trees that are taken out. There's a multi-trunk live oak that's in the parking lot just behind the building. So I'm not going to, I like to hear comments from the other board members. Does anyone else have anything to say on the site before we move on to architecture? Bill?
I think they've done everything they can do with this site, and they bought it. They've got a right to develop it and use it. And as long as Bill Salisbury's okay with it, I'm okay with it.
Okay. Candy, any comments on site?
No, I actually think the site layout looks real good. And I understand, Chris, your concern about that tree in particular and the other ones. But I've been, y'all know so much more about this than I do, but I've been watching a lot of building lately where they go on the site and to prevent all the construction traffic and materials being dropped and things like that. They actually put a big perimeter around the tree, and that would be helpful to put a site.
Well, they'll have to put up tree barricades around.
Yeah,
it.
and if they'll
Just so
do
it's
that,
secure.
that'll really help in protecting.
They have to by ordinance. They got
Yeah,
to.
town
Okay,
ordinance
good.
does require a tree barricade.
Well, that's
to be
why I'm
constructed.
seeing them every place now. Okay.
Yes. Yeah, and we updated it and
Mm-hmm.
made it a little bit stronger in the
Good.
last couple of years. So that's why they're more prominent, and they're no longer just the flimsy orange plastic.
Right.
What I
They're
call
really
a
quite
snow
a
fence.
barricade. Yeah.
But now it's a 6-foot chain link fence. People will notice it when they run into it. It doesn't matter what type of machine they're using. It'll get their attention.
I got you. No, I think it really will be a wonderful look on that corner too. So,
Carolyn, any comments?
I guess my thoughts, according to Chris, having to back out if there's not a parking place, that's an issue. If there's somewhere else to locate so you could make a circle or something, I don't know. I don't know that that's a possibility. It looks like you've done about all you can do with it. So I don't know. But that is an issue.
May I make a comment on it, Caroline?
Yes.
I'm sorry. I think that these parkings in the back of that building are private parkings. It's not intended for public to enter. That could be even gated, that entrance, which is a big possibility. So at this point, with DOT not permitting us to have two egress out of this property and not being able to make a deal with Piggly Wiggly, I think that if you'll have a concern about this, we can gate it.
Well, not only that, you can back into that dumpster area. See the hashed dumpster area at the end of the pond?
Yes.
You just back up a 2-lane driveway, back into that area and pull out. It's not hard.
Could we move on to architecture?
Sure.
I guess I would allow the architect to address this. Tell me where you want to start here on the architecture.
Let's go to the front page, if you don't mind. To the cover sheet.
Yep.
Yes. That building is at the the view is from the corner of Pine and North 4th. I always mix up that name of that street. It's looking at it from that corner. There is an entrance to the back of the building where the offices are located and the lobby of the building. And on the first floor is all the restaurant that is actually the owner of this building, Miles and June. And on the second floor of it is office spaces. In the back portion is going to be stucco, and as you can see, there's going to be a substantial crown on the top of the windows and a nice sill on the bottom to emulate traditional stucco buildings. And in the front, which is kind of a transition into more modern architecture, is a mixture of shiplap stained wood along with the stucco hardy board detailing. The canopy is out of steel and is separated at the corner. So each side has its own canopy, and they are connected to the building with a steel rod, which is the hanger. And so if you move down, Tim, to the next sheet, okay, that's the layout, the floor plan of it. As you can see, the restaurant takes the whole frontage on that first floor. And on this side is the entry into that courtyard, which is intended to be fairly romantic, sort of a evening seating restaurant. As I don't know if you're aware of that, Miles and June is one of the best restaurants in the country, actually in the top 100 in the country and top 3 in South Carolina. So that courtyard is going to be a romantic, nice sitting area for the evening. And there's also going to be an entrance into the kitchen facilities on that side. On the Pine Street side, you see the main entrance into the restaurant and the entrance into the lobby for access to the offices. We also have egress in the back of the building that not only provides some detailing to the back of the building, but it's also good on that second floor, provides the fire egress out of the second floor. On the second floor, you see just all offices. It's going to be probably cut up as they rent it. Right now, we are just dealing with a vanilla envelope building. On the left side of this drawing, you see some detailing about the intent on the trash screening and the screening of the front wall along the 4th Street, North 4th Street. The detailing is gonna, it's depicting basically the same materials as the building, stucco on the columns and shiplap, stained shiplap on the panels in between. On both the screen wall for the trash and also the little low wall on the 4th Street. Can you scroll down, Tim?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Okay. So here we are looking at the elevations, the front elevation, also the rear elevation of the building. The detailing of this kind of at this stage is visible on the first sheet where we saw the rendering. On the left side, you kind of see a small depiction of what canopy will look like. And also materials are denoted on this drawing. Okay, would you scroll down, please, Tim, to the next drawing? Thank you. On the top, you see the courtyard side of this building, which is actually basically visible from the Piggly Wiggly parking lot. The two different basically design merged together fairly well. The fire stair in the back is showing the same kind of detailing with the shiplap, stained shiplap on the lower side of it. And the other one is the Pine Street elevation. Any questions on any of this?
Well, thank you for that presentation. Was there anything particular about Somerville that drew inspiration for you to design this building in this way?
Well,
any precedents you saw
buildings in Somerville, buildings are just so diverse, and of course the newer buildings are just very nice and modern, and the older building, I mean, they speak for themselves. We just try to get kind of a combination of this modern and the traditional into this building and merge them together and create a building that would fit in Somerville and in that location.
Bill, do you have any initial comments? Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Carolyn.
That much like Somerville, but it's not on a main street. It's kind of back off the other. And I think it is a handsome building. I don't know.
Thank you.
And it's not, you know, on one of the main areas. I don't know what does everybody else think?
I don't think it needs to look residential at all. I'm not a real fan of all the stucco. I like the front part of the building a lot better than I like the back part of the building with the stucco. Just not a fan of stucco, that much stucco.
Yeah, I think we've been battling with a primarily stucco building on Main Street that was just recently renovated. I think probably the board knows where I'm talking about, but across from KFC, kind of.
Right.
It had the signs, actually. They were the first applicant. And even that, I think if we had it, from speaking for myself, if I had it to do over again, the building wouldn't have any stucco on it. Over again, meaning if they tore it down. If they tore it down, I think the new building would not be stucco. It would be more.
But that is Main Street too. So
I think one of the best buildings, new buildings in town is CPW's building.
Yes, yeah.
Which is all brick, and it's got good details. And if the stucco turned into brick on the back part and stayed the same on the front part, I'd probably like the building.
Yeah, the CPW building is an exceptional example of, I think, this general style of architecture that is very well received here in Somerville. I think it's a couple of things that I recall on that one is the windows aren't all the same size, and the floor plan seems like it's got a curve in it, which I'm not saying it necessarily has to have a curve, but you know, it's got built bigger windows on the corner, it seems like, and then smaller windows as you go through. I'd have to actually see it again, but I think this building is a nice looking building, but I don't feel like it's the appropriate style of architecture for this site. And Bill, you know, I'm a big believer in context in the area, and I struggle a little bit with. I like that little old houses there, and I kind of think that's what this neighborhood looks like. I think it's kind of disintegrated over the last, I don't know, 40 years or whatever, because there's different architecture going in there. So I think I could get behind that it does not have to be residential in this particular area. But I think this, the general massing, the repetitiveness of the windows, the materials are not quite right for this corner. Candy, do you have any initial thoughts?
I think it is, as Carolyn said, a handsome building, but I do think the windows are a little too structured looking. I think if somehow there could be some differences in how the windows appeared, you know, maybe in a different section or something. It's just too structured. It needs to be a little more relaxed. So I'm not an architect. I don't know how to do that, but it's too structured and makes it feel kind of plain because of that. And it's not a plain building.
One thing to keep in mind is your primary view corridor is going to be off West 1st North Street.
Right.
Or West 4th North Street.
Right.
You're going to see the front part of the building. You're not going to see the back part of the building. That's going to be a Pine Street view.
Well, that'll be a beautiful view. Absolutely.
And so, you know, you see the front on the prominent street, West 1st North. Pine Street, you go across the street and there's a telephone company storage yard over there.
Right, right.
Go a little further down, you got, I think it's an old SC&G deal going down, you know, a little further.
It's still that, Bill.
Oh. Huh?
It's still that. It's commercial and industrial down in there.
It's commercial and industrial. You've got a lot of stuff in there. If you cleared this property, what you'd see is the concrete block wall of the Piggly Wiggly store.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just cleared a lot. You're going to see the back of the Piggly Wiggly store, which is concrete block. But I really like the front a lot more than the back, but your view, you're not going to see it all at one time, except this T1 sheet you got is the only view you'll get to see this whole thing at one time. But your side elevation that you're showing on the plan right now, you're never going to see it.
I think you'll see the view from the Piggly Wiggly parking lot a good bit. Of course, I think there's a fence there.
Well,
that's a pretty
no, the Piggly Wiggly building blocks you. You can't, I mean, the building is almost intruding on this property.
Is it, or is it on the, no, the building sits back by the parking lot.
No, if you look at the drawing, look at C1, you see how little of this, plus you got that big oak tree blocking the view too, and the fence.
That's true. Well,
absolutely, the oak tree, yes.
You really don't see the stucco element. The front element is good, which I like a lot. The front element.
That's a good point.
See that from everywhere.
That's a good point. And the one thing about this, back to this live oak, is you're effectively going to have to shave that side of the tree. I know we were talking root impact. We were really talking root impact previously, but really it's you're going to be cutting all the branches that are on that side.
No, they won't.
With it being a two-story building, they will.
No, they'll be cutting 5 foot back from the canopy, basically. Maybe 10 foot back from the canopy. But it's, I've got a scale here, but I don't, this drawing's not the scale. But the,
it's not that far of a cut.
It's not that big
back
a cut. But the view, the side view of that Piggly Wiggly store is going to be what you're going to see from that parking lot that you're putting in. And I mean, that thing is concrete block. So what you're putting up, being as tall as it is and as big as it is going to be a help in hiding the Piggly Wiggly's mess. So I think it's going to be a benefit to the neighborhood.
I do too, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think any of us would approve the Piggly Wiggly today, you know, as it is right now.
I'm not sure I would approve this building on Main Street, but where we're putting it is okay. I mean, it's good. I think.
agree, Carolyn. Yeah.
I think it's, I think it would look, I'm going to probably counter you, Carolyn. I think it would look more appropriate on Main Street than it looks like on a side street. So,
interesting.
Yeah, because I think your point is it's not as visible. So if it's not as visible, then let them kind of get by with something.
Well, no, I'm not trying to let them get by with anything. I think it's a handsome building.
Yeah, that's a poor way for me to say that too, I admit. Okay, well, we need to.
Given the environment this building is being located in, it's going to be an asset. I mean, you've got this junkyard run by the phone company virtually across Pine Street from it.
Yep.
Further down, you got the old abandoned SC&G junk. They've quit using that except for storing trucks now and again.
That's true.
The office is all closed.
That little weird brick ranch kind of across the street from Pine Street with I think it's got a flat roof maybe. Now it's a doctor's office or something.
It's a doctor's office, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be whatever goes there. If it's this or it's some improvements upon this, will probably be the best looking building in the neighborhood.
And like you were saying, the tree is going to obstruct seeing all the stucco. I mean, it's just the landscaping and that big tree in the back make a big difference as well.
Okay, so how do we move forward then?
I think
this is for preliminary approval.
Preliminary approval, and I really like the front. If they could make the back of it, which is all stucco, a little bit more like the front, not necessarily with the window shapes or anything else, but I don't know. Hate to design.
Would it help you if we introduce some brick into the stucco?
I think that would help. You know, even to the bottom.
Could we make that a condition for the preliminary approval?
even if you brought the brick up to the bottom, you know, as a wainscot or water table to the bottom sill of the first floor windows?
Absolutely, it's possible. If
Just bring brick
you
up that high. I think that would fly and add a lot of interest to it.
if you kindly would give me that approval, then we will work on it. And for the next submission, I will have them incorporate all the issues, incorporate some brick into the building, create water table under the windows, and mix that in with the stucco.
I think the front part of the building, I think I'd leave alone and work on the back stucco part to get some interest on that. I mean, the water table wainscot would help a lot, I think. Maybe if you can get a little rustication with some pilasters or something, I don't know. I don't know if that's possible or how that would even look, but maybe just at the corners or something, make the corners.
I think definitely all of that is great, great suggestions, and I think that we can incorporate all of that for the next submission. If that's okay with you, we will do that. Just incorporate some more detailing and some brick.
Yeah, I think if you can work on the corners and maybe a water table with brick and then the cornice up top is great. Make it a darker color or something, contrasting color, which is shown, I think, on this T1. I think it might just work out and fly.
Yes, sir. What is the stuff on the front that's dark? What is that? Is that brick?
That is shiplap.
Shiplap wood.
Oh, okay.
Now,
shiplap wood.
Even though I like the front, if you had a water table on the front to the bottom, to the sill of the first floor windows, don't change anything, but just get a water table of brick in there to kind of make it tie in with the back part. Just a thought.
Yes, sir. If you make that a condition, I am sure that we can satisfy you.
I would like it back there where the stucco is, maybe, but I don't know that I would like it on the front.
Okay.
I agree with you, Carolyn.
I don't think it's as necessary on the front.
I don't either, because we have enough interest there.
Yeah, and that wood's going to look great up there. And
yeah, that's really pretty.
Contrast out a little bit.
I have a little more. I think have more concerns than that. I think that the repetitiveness of the windows is not quite right. The fact that they're just, the same width going all the way across, and they're just 10 of them or whatever it is. And I think it's just, I just question whether, the bottom kind of looks like a storefront, but it's got these columns that go between, that divides the windows. So it's not really a storefront. So what is it? I think the building needs further study in general, all the way around. So that's just me. So I think we need to move on. Candy, did you have any other comments?
No, Chris. The only thing is I still have the front of the building. I understand the uniformity of the windows and I see the reasoning for that. That's a great design, but I'm still the uniformity of the other windows it just needs a little something. I think Bill's idea of the brick at the base is a good idea. And I think that'll make a change in the building and how we feel about it. So.
All right, Bill, you have anything else?
No, other than they've got a lot of detail around those windows. With
a lot of detail.
The head and the sill detail and the stucco. And I don't know, maybe you change the color there to add a little interest.
Huh?
Carolyn, you have anything else?
No, I just really didn't have a problem with the building enough to
Okay.
change it. So,
All right. Would someone like to make a motion?
is this preliminary?
For
Yes.
yes, preliminary approval.
I move that we approve preliminary approval, give them preliminary approval, excuse me, with the comments that have been made to come back, with, I know most of you liked the brick around the thing and so forth, around the water table.
Is there a second?
A second.
Okay, further discussion. I actually did have one other thing. Scott, I think you probably heard what I said earlier, but on a different project, but the planting plan is just not where it needs to be. I mean, it's kind of like, it just needs a little more thought, needs to really relate to the building. Palms are not usually highly thought of at the DRB. I think it just needs some design put behind it, and it kind of looks like just stuff was just placed there with the old template. Really like to see that design enhanced a good bit. That's just, again, that's just an observation. Any other discussion? All those in favor, I'm going to roll call. Bill?
Aye.
Candy?
Aye.
Carolyn?
Aye.
Okay, and I am opposed. All right, so 3-1. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. Have a
Thank you,
great evening.
everybody. Thank
You
you.
too. Have a good Thanksgiving.
You too. Take care. All right.
Thanks, guys.
Same to you all.
Tim, do you have anything else?
I left the discussion of the mixed use districts on the agenda under miscellaneous in case you had anything else to discuss, but I'm happy to entertain the end of the meeting.
I move that we adjourn.
We're all in favor of that, so I'm going to a unanimous vote.
Unanimous.
Thanks, everybody. Sorry for a long meeting. I tried to make it run as fast as I could.
No, you did a great job, Chris.
Thank you,
It was a
Chris.
long agenda
Yeah.
and we had technical issues, so
Yeah,
don't worry
that's all
about
right.
it.
That's
Y'all
all right.
have a good Thanksgiving.
Happy
You do
Thanksgiving.
the
Take
same.
care,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Thank you.